Hello everyone, welcome to a brand new course video where I'll be walking you guys through on how to master Bootstrap, and the latest one that we're going to be using is Bootstrap 5. So in this particular crash course, I'll be walking you guys through on most of the fundamental features that we'll be using in developing a website in Bootstrap. So that's exactly what we're going to be learning throughout this entire course. And not just that, I'll also be walking you guys through on how to develop a simple website that looks like this right here. And this particular website is solemnly built on Bootstrap, where I've used basic HTML and I've also added Bootstrap to give some stylings. And also I will be attaching the source code of this particular website together with this particular video. So let's actually start developing this particular project as well. Hello there friends. So in this part of the video, I'd like to walk you guys through on how to set up Bootstrap into your project. So in this case, first of all, we must be having an index.html page, and of course, in order to have that, you also need to be having a project folder for your website. So in this case, I'll create a new folder, and I would like to open this particular folder with VS Code just like this. And once you have opened the particular folder with your VS Code, all you have to do is just go to your folder directory right here and just click on add new file right here. Just click on this, and of course just create a new index.html page just like this. And once you've created it, you'll be able to find your index.html page has been created. And of course we must be having the boilerplate code for a typical HTML page. So in this case, I have to type doc, and I like to press tab, and there you go. This is basically a simple shorthand key to create boilerplate for HTML file. So in this case, all you have to do just need to be typing doc followed by tab. And the next part will be, I like to set up the Bootstrap itself. So all you have to do just go to our browser right here, and in our browser just type Bootstrap 5 like this, and click for search, and of course just look for the first link right here. In this case, I'm going to type the first link, and all you have to do just need to be making sure we go to this particular page right here which says getting started version 5, and all you have to do just look for this particular CSS and JS CDN link right here. In this case, we happen to have CSS link right here, and of course the JS link right here, and these two links should be included into our project file so that you'll be able to run the Bootstrap itself. So in this case, first of all, I have to copy the CSS CDN link right here. In this case, just click on copy, go to our VS Code. I like to paste it right below the title tag right here. In this case, go to the next line right here, and this just like to paste it right below here. Once you have pasted it, just the next thing you should be doing is to go back to our Bootstrap documentation right here, and then just copy the CDN link for JS file. So in this case, we like to copy this particular code right here. In this case, just click on copy, and in our VS Code, we should be placing this particular script tag right here outside of the body tag right here. Just paste it right here, and there you go. Right now we have already finished on how to set up Bootstrap 5, and the next thing is to just like to test it with running this particular file, whether Bootstrap 5 is working or not. So in this case, I like to add like a simple text right here. In this case, I like to say h1. So h1, inside the h1 tag right here, I like to place a simple text, and of course we must be running this particular file right here. In this case, I like to open with live server here. So in order to have live server, you must be having this particular extension inside your extensions tab right here. Just look for live server. Just make sure you have installed this particular live server here so that you'll be able to run your HTML file in this particular live server. And so all you have to do is just need to install it and start using it. So in this case, I like to go to the first option right here which says open with live server, and you'll be able to find your file will be open like this. In this case, this is how your HTML file will be running. So in this case, let's check whether Bootstrap has been installed or not. So in this case, I have to go back to my code right here, and in my code, I have to add some simple styling effect to this particular text right. And in this case, I have to add class, and inside this particular class is where I'll be giving the styling effect. So in this, first of all, I like to change the color of the text right here. In this case, I have to say text primary, and just like this. And once you have typed text equals to primary, you're able to find that the color of your text has been changed. And this is because this particular text equals to primary is actually a styling effect that makes your text to become blue. And of course, you can change the color by actually replacing this particular styling effect to secondary. And once you have changed to secondary, as you can see here, the color of the text also been changed. And we can also change it to a different color. In this case, I would say danger. And just like this, as you can see here, we can actually change the color here as well. And besides color, we can also give other styling effects. So in this case, I have to add padding. So padding will be you just need to be making sure to give p equals to something. So in this case, I have to say p equals to 5, p-5 like this. And once you give p-5, you're able to find your text will be having padding of 5 around this particular text box right here. And this proves that we have already installed and we have successfully set up Bootstrap 5 into our project. Hello everyone. So in this part of the video, I would like to walk you guys through on typography. So basically, typographies are basically the text that we are able to be used in our website. So basically, Bootstrap, what does it does? It will be having its own predefined styling effects that has already been stored in their library. So all you have to do just need to be accessing them when we needed it. For example, as you can see right in the headings right here, and it says H1 and up until H6 tag. So basically, we can make use of this particular H1 tag, H1 all up to H6 tags. And all you have to do just need to be adding class name. And in this case, let's try to apply this particular heading text effects into our code. And there you go. In our code right here, I have actually placed some heading tags right here. As you can see, I have placed H1 all the way up to H6. And as you can see on my right hand side, these are the ones that shows the sizes that have been predefined in a simple HTML tags. So right now what we can do, we are able to implement Bootstrap into this particular tags right here. First H1 tag right here. Let's say if I were to add class, and inside this class, let's say if I like to add H2 like this. So what happens right here on our right hand side here, it will be the H1 tag that we just seen has been using H2 style effect. And this shows that your class name can be used to override an HTML tag's styling properties. So basically, let's say if I were to add for H2 tag right in the second part right here, let's say if I like to add a class, and let's say if I add H1 tag right here. And you will be able to find H2 at the moment. H2 tag is using H1's class name. And this is basically how Bootstrap can be used to define any H1 tag. So you don't actually have to be having any heading tag right here. All you have to do is just need to make sure to put inside your class name right here. And this is the basic stuff. And let's head on to our next part. Now let's look at the next part, which is display. So display headings is actually a bit more different, which is a larger, slightly more opinionated heading style right here. So all you have to do just need to be having this particular display equals to 1, display dash 1 all the way up to 4 right here. And let's go back to our code. And in our code right here, we happen to have with an empty class. So all you have to do just need to be adding display dash 1 as the class name. And let's select display dash 1 right now. And you'll be able to find the display dash 1 is actually applied right here. And you can do all the way from display dash 1 up to display equals to 4 right here. This is a different way to customize your text. In this case, it's going to be a bit more different, where it actually happen to have a smaller font weight and a bigger font size. And this is basically the basic idea of how display can be used. Now let's go to the next part. Now let's look at this particular styling effect called lead. Lead is basically used for paragraph tag and can be used to make a particular paragraph to stand out. So let's make use of this particular style. As you can see right here, I happen to have a simple paragraph tag right here with some lorem ipsum text. And all you have to do in order to make it a bit more stand out, all you have to do just need to be adding the lead class into this particular paragraph tag. So let's make a copy of this. And in the second paragraph right here, all you have to do just need to be adding lead class right here. And just like this, you are able to find your paragraph tags right here happen to be having a bit more different look from this particular paragraph tag right here. And this is basically just to make it a bit more different from the predefined HTML's paragraph tag, and by adding this is a bit more different. The next thing I would like to show you guys is I'm able to make use of alignment as well to make this particular text to align from left arm to right. So in this, let's make a copy of this particular paragraph tag text right here, and in this case I like to add text equals to center. So when I added text equals to center, you were able to find this particular paragraph is actually aligning to the center, and this is basically the simple way to make alignment to your paragraph tags. So in this case, let's make a copy of another one, and in this case I'm going to show you different to the particular in which side should it align to. In this case I have to make a copy of this, and so instead of center right here, and just need to be changing this particular center right here to end. If I make it to end, you'll be able to find your tags right here has been aligning to the right hand side of this particular line, and this is basically how you're able to align tags. And if you were to make it to align on our left hand side, like how it's usually aligns to, for example in this case we can usually use start. Having start right here, we are able to find it aligns to the left hand side, but this won't actually be used because you don't actually need to align text to your left hand side because that's how usually it's already been defined. And that's the basic idea of how you are able to make use of lead and alignments to your text. Now let's go to the next part. So the next part that I would like to show you guys is basically on how to make use of font weight. So basically font weight is basically on how thick your text should be. In this case, all you have to do just need to be using FW dash followed by on how thick it should usually be. For example, in this case, the bold, starting from bold and all the way up to normal. And in this case, normal is the one that does not actually require any styling effect. It's just how it normal look like. And we happen to have italic, lighter, light, normal, bolder, and bold. And this can be used in our code right here. So let's head back to our code. So in our code right here, we happen to have a simple p tag, a paragraph tag again. So in this case, I like to add some class to this particular paragraph tag, whereby I like to start with font weight equals to bolder, just like this. And once you have added it, you're able to find your text has just became a bit more thicker. So let's make it another paragraph tag. In this case, I like to make it less bold. So I like to make a copy of the first paragraph tag right here. And in this case, I like to make a less thinner text. In this case, I like to say normal, just like this, and you'll be able to find your thickness has just been reduced. You can actually make use of light. So in this case, I'd like to replace the normal to light, just like this, and you'll be able to find your text is far more thinner right here. And there you go. We happen to have this particular bolder, normal, and light, and we don't actually need to use bolder. We can just use bold like this, and you'll be having the same styling effect, which happens to be the same as the bolder. And next thing is let's add some other text decorations. For in this case, first of all, I like to make use of this case. I like to add italic text. In this case, all you have to do just be having another text paragraph tag right below right here. And in this case, instead of FW, I'm going to be making sure to use font style. So in this case, I must be using FST followed by italic, just like this. And once you add that, you're able to find your text became italic like this. So in this case, we are able to make use of italic styling effect to our paragraph tag as well. And if you're able to look into our documentation as well, we also can be use other text decoration that can be used in our code right here. So we can either we can underline the text like this, or we can actually cross through a particular text like this, and we can make it as a link right in the third one like here. And if you happen to have a particular text with an A tag right here, you can actually remove the text decoration so that you won't be having an underline like this. So let's make use of this, and in our code right here, let's make it just like make use of one tag only at a time. So in this case, first of all, I like to add the first text decoration. So in this case, I like to replace this particular text right here to text decoration followed by underline like this. So in this case, you're able to find your text has been underlined. Next thing is let's make use of another text decoration styling effect. So in this case, I like to replace underline with line through. So line through is basically it just crosses through your text right here. And let's make use of an anchor tag, just like this. In this case, I will say hello world as well. And of course, an anchor tag usually will be having an href. And as you can see right here, when we happen to have added an href anchor tag right here, you're able to find your text becomes a link right here, and clickable link. And if you would like to customize this particular link, all you have to do just need to be adding the same text decoration right here. Let's add a class. In this case, I'd like to add text decoration, and we can actually make use of the null styling effect, because let's say if you don't want like to have the underline to be visible, all you have to do remove the text decoration dash none. And this is how you're able to make use of text decoration along with font weight as well. And that's the basic idea of how you're able to make use of text decoration styling effect. Now let's go to the next one. And next part will be, I'd like to walk you guys through on colors, on how to make use of colors. So these are the predefined colors that are actually available in Bootstrap library. Now all you have to do, if you were to call this particular text right here, in this case either primary, secondary, and all the way up to dark, right, you are able to call this particular predefined colors. And all you have to do, if you want to make use for your text, you can just say tags equals to primary, secondary, and all the way up to dark right here. And besides that, we also happen to have this all colors right here. You are able to make use of this particular colors as well. So now let's head back to our code, and in our code right here, we're able to make use of text followed by those predefined names. In this case, first of all, I have to start with text equals to primary, just like this, and you're able to find your text color has became blue. And next thing is, let's add another styling effect. So in this case, I have to add text equals to followed by secondary, and as you can see here, you're able to find your color has been changed to gray. And we can also make use of other colors. For example, in this case, I have to change the secondary to success, and you will be able to find the color has been changed to green. And you can make use of this particular styling effect to a particular text, and all you have to do just need to be having this particular theme colors name to be placed right after your text. In our next part right here, I'm going to walk you guys through on how to add background colors for your text. So in this case, all you have to do just need to be adding class like this. And let's say if I would like to add a particular color, and of course you can actually make use of the colors that we have seen in our Bootstrap documentation. Like here in this case, we can also be able to use for all this particular colors, and just need to be having BG followed by this particular colors right. And yeah, of course, let's add BG, which stands for background, and followed by primary. And as you can see right here, we are able to find your background color has changed to blue for this particular text. And of course, we can also happen to give this particular text a different color. And in this case, I like to make a copy of this as well. Just make a copy of this and place it right below. In this case, I like to change it to secondary, just like this, and you're able to find it becomes gray. And of course, let's add another one. And in this time, we're going to be making sure to change the secondary to success. And you're able to find the color has changed to green like this. And there you go. This is the basic idea on how you are able to make use of colors for both text and for background as well. Hello everyone. So in this part of the video, I'll be walking you guys through on how to create and use Bootstrap buttons. So in this case, as you can see here inside the Bootstrap's documentation, buttons can be created by just having this particular button tag right here. As you can see, a button where it's closed by where it has its own class and along with the type right here. And all you have to do, just need to make sure to have your Bootstrap's styling to be implemented inside this particular button. You need to be typing this particular BTN, and the first BTN is meant for the size and the shape of the button. And of course, the second BTN class right here, as you can see, it always applies for the color that it aligns with. For example, the primary will always be blue, followed by secondary, success, danger, and all the way up to dark right here. So as you can see here, this is how a typical button would be able to be created in Bootstrap. So let's get started into our code. And now in our code right here, I happen to be having a blank code. And all you have to do, just need to be adding that particular button tag. And just like this. And once you have added this, you will be able to find something like this. Next thing is to add some text inside it. For example, in this case, I would like to say subscribe. So as you can see here, if I just type the word subscribe like this, you'll be able to find the button will be having the text to be having like this. And as you can see here, this particular button does not happen to have any styling that has been given to this particular tag. So in this case, in order to have that particular bootstrap styling, we need to be giving first of all the class. So as I've said earlier, we need to be having btn, and once I've added btn, you'll be able to find that something has been added like this, but then it's just the button color has not been added. So in order to have the color, we need to be having button dash primary, something like this. And if you have saved it, you will be able to find your button will be looks exactly like the one in the bootstrap design. And of course, this particular button can be having other colors as well. The colors are the ones that I just shown you. So in this case, I'm going to create another new button right below here. In this case, I have to change the primary to secondary. And of course, secondary color is actually gray. And also we can also create another new color with changing the secondary to success, and you'll be able to find that particular button will be having a green colored background like this. And there you go. Right now, and there you go. Right now, as you can see here, not just button tags that are be able to be implemented, we can also use anchor tag to be as the button like here. As you can see here, we open to have this particular anchor tag, and of course, only because it has the styling called btn and also followed by btn dash primary, it also happen to look like a typical button. And there you go. Right now, on this case, we can also be able to implement that particular anchor tag right below here. This case just need to be having a, in this case, inside here, I like to say click me, and inside the anchor tag I'll be having href, because every single anchor tag will be having an href like this. And also, as you can see here, right now you happen to have this plain anchor tag right here. In this case, you need to be adding the class. In this case, I have to say class, and inside the class I'll be having btn, and not just btn, of course you need to be having the color, so btn dash primary. And there you go. Right now you'll be able to find the anchor tag called click me will be also be having inheriting the same style of a typical button, of how the button tag has been having this now. And next, we'll be able to find, we are able to make the buttons to have outline background instead of plain full background. The only difference is that this particular button will not be having any fill background when you don't hover on top of this. When you hover on top of this, then only you'll be having the fill. And this actually contradicts to the ones that and this is actually a bit more different than the one that we did just now, because the one that we did just now does not happen to have any outline when we hover on top of it. So that's the difference between when we implement outline. And the only difference that in order to implement this particular outline style, you need to be having this particular outline text to be placed in between your button and type the button color like this. In this case, let's say if you would like to have button primaries, just need to be having another word in between them, and that's it. So in this case, let's go back to our code. And in our code right here, just create another new button. In this case, which is just like to say, and in this case, I like to change this particular button dash primary, and I'll be adding another word called outline dash primary, and you'll be able to find your button tags. Your button has just been implemented. Outline has been implemented into your button, and of course, you can also change to use other colors as well. In this case, I like to say success instead. And you will be able to find this particular button has been having a green color outline together, and when we hover on top of this, it becomes green color. And next, we can also be having different sizes for the buttons. In this case, all you have to do just need to be adding button dash LG, and that's for big sized buttons, and of course for small sized we can be having button dash SM. And this is basically just adding another styling effect right after we added the color. So in this case, let's go back to our code, and in this code right here, I like to have another button right below here. And in this case, right after that particular button, first of all, I like to remove the outline for a while, because without the outline, and next thing is I like to add btn dash LG, and yeah, LG is meant for big sized, and there you go. Right now you're able to find this particular button is bigger than the normal sized button. And we can also be having another button. This case, I like to paste it right below right here, and instead of LG at the moment, we just need to be changing it to SM. And as you can see, SM will be having smaller than the typical one. And just for a comparison, I have to place another, just like a typical button would take this particular button, and I have to place it right below here. And of course, you'll be having the biggest size here. You have to be having the big sized button right here, and the normal sized, and of course the small sized button right here. And that's the basic idea of how to use size for buttons. And next, I would like to walk you guys through on how to make use of button groups. So button groups are basically a group of normal buttons that can be listed out in the same group. And as you can see right here, you will be able to find that this particular list of buttons right here are actually arranged inside a button group like this. And this particular 3 buttons are basically typical buttons that can be created by just by saying btn and btn-secondary. Those are basically typical buttons. Just need to be placing them within the button groups, and the only thing that makes it different from the normal button is basically is like, as you can see here, they are actually arranged in a way that only the edge, the first button and the last button will be having at their edge, and the middle ones won't be having any edge. For example, in this case, it looks like it is only be affecting the first button and the last button. And this is also a great way to have multiple buttons, and in this case you can also be having button groups to be placed inside your code. And let's actually make use of this particular code. As you can see here inside our code right here, we happen to be having many buttons. So in this case I like to remove most of it, and in this case I like to start from basic. So in this case I like to just make use of button groups. So in this case I like to add a div class. In this case I like to say div, and inside this div, by the way, I like to have the class to be having button group, btn group, just like this. And of course, inside this particular div right here is where we'll be placing the button tag. So in this case, I like to add button, and inside this particular button, I like to say button 1, and this particular button 1 will be having its own class where you'll be able to use the Bootstrap class stylings. So in this case, I like to say class, and inside this class, I like to say btn, followed by btn primary, and there you go. Right now you'll be able to find there is a button that's just been created within the button group class. And the next thing would be to make a copy of the first button that we just created, and just need to be placing it right below here. And in this case I like to change the button text to become 2, and of course as you can see here right now, you're able to find only the edge has been having rounded corners, and the one in the middle does not happen to have any corner right here. And let's say if I add another button right after this particular button, so in this case let's create another new button right below here, and in this case it's going to be called button 3. And as you can see here, you'll be able to find the same effect has been used. Only the first and the last button will be having rounded corners on their edges. And as you can see here, we can also use different colors. In this case, let's say secondary, and the third button is going to be called success. And there you go. Right now you're able to find this particular group of buttons will be having different colors because we have just placed them in different colors. And of course the button group is making them to be having in the same group, because when we don't happen to use this particular button group right here, you'll be able to find a huge difference, which is there's a huge gap in between them, and since they're not connected, and there's just some space in between them, and all the buttons are actually independent. Then that's the difference that makes it different from button group and without using the button group. And that's the basic idea of how to make use of button group.
Hello there everyone. So in this part of the video, I'd like to walk you guys through on utility classes. So there are a lot of utility classes that you can find in Bootstrap. So as you can see here right in my left hand side right here, you happen to have many utility classes. As you can see, background, borders, colors, display, flex, float, and all the way up to visibility right here. So as you can see here, there are a lot of utility classes that we can use. So first of all, we are going to be starting with spacing right here. And of course, because as you can see here, we have margin and padding. Margin and padding are the most commonly used styling properties in Bootstrap. So as you can see here in spacing, we have two different kinds of spacing, which is margin and padding. So as you know earlier by now, basically margin literally means is to give space from a particular container. And padding, on the other hand, is to give spacing within a particular container. And that's the only difference between margin and padding. The difference is for margin we just make a space from a particular position, and padding on the other side is basically is to give spacing within a particular container. Those are just two simple things, yet this is a mostly commonly used bootstrap styling effect. And let's look at how to utilize this margin and padding in bootstrap. So as you can see here, we can actually use the notation, and notation is basically is like just by saying m, you're able to apply that particular margin properties. And for p, you can just, for padding, you can just say p right here, and that's how it is. So in order to have like a specific styling, for example margin top, you can just say mt, m followed by t dash the value of a particular margin top. And of course we are all the way up to, we have top, bottom, start, end, x-axis and y-axis. And as you can see, and if you just leave blank, example m-4 or m-1, it's going to be having in all the sides of the element. And this is very basic one right here. So in this case, let's see the examples on how to make use of this particular margin and padding. And let's say if you say margin top dash 0, literally means margin top 0 like this. And ms1 is basically margin left because this is start. And px is basically x-axis, so you'll only be applied for left and right. And if you were to say y-axis, you're going to be top and bottom. That's the difference. And if it was blank, you're just going to be saying p-3, it's just padding as it is. Padding as it is will be applied on all four sides. And let's have a look on how to actually utilize this particular padding and margin styling properties in an actual code. So let's go to our code, and there you go. Right now I happen to be having a simple button that is basically wrapped within a div, and that particular div I've given a border. So in this case I'm just going to say border dash primary, and you'll be able to find that is a blue colored border that's surrounded by this particular button right here. And this is just some basic HTML components. So first of all, I would like to make use of margins, as we have seen earlier, just by saying m dash any value, for example m-1, you'll be able to find, you are able to give some spacing away from your container. So this is the one that I was referring to. We are basically giving one value of one margin away from a particular container. For padding, let's say if I put padding dash 1, this is going to be making sure to give spacing within your container. And there you go. This is some basic idea. And let's actually just increase the value from 1 to 5 like this. You're able to find that there will be more spacing have been given, and that particular spacing is a value of 5. And we can also like inspect what is the value of m5, p5, something like this. So in this case, we are able to just go into inspect, and we can actually see what is the value that's been given right. So as you can see here, when we hover on top of this particular container right here, you're able to find you have received margin of 48 pixels and padding of 48 pixels. And this is basically just like a representative of m5 and p5. And that's the basic idea of how this particular m5 and p5 actually is all about. And the next thing is that let's add just for a particular position. For in this case, we can see margin top. Margin top, it only applies for top positions. So as you can see here, when I put margin top, only the top part have received the spacing, while the bottom, the sides have not received any spacing. So if I change it to ms to represent m start, and let's see if I place m start, so only applies at this particular left hand side, because m left start is basically to have it here. And let's say if I change it to me, is basically m margin n, it only applies here. And yeah, of course it applies for padding as well. So if I put padding goes to top, only the top has been received padding of 5. And as you can see here, there's no padding on our right hand side or left hand side or bottom side. And this is the basic idea of positioning, of making sure to put padding or margin on a particular place. And besides that, we can also have x-axis and y-axis. So as you can see here, if I put margin, let me just remove all this E and PT by the way. And as you can see here, when I put, let's say if I put for margin, if I just put x-axis, you'll be able to find only x-axis, for example left hand side and your right hand side have some margin right here. And let's say if I put x-axis for P, as you can see here, you'll only find that's a padding on our left hand side and our right hand side right here. You can also inspect, and you can see that only this particular padding only applies on right hand side and left hand side like this. So if I just hover on top of this, you can see here this particular green color area, as you can see on our both hand side are the padding, and of course the orange sides are the margin right here. So this is basically to have only on x-axis. So let's say if I were to change it to y-axis, let me just go to the code right here, just change the x to y.
and you'll be able to find your spacing will be only be given only on top and the bottom right here. So you can see the green color is representing padding, and of course the orange color right at the bottom and the top bottom right here is representing margin. And this is only meant for top and bottom because we have used margin Y and margin padding Y of 5. And these are the basic ideas of how you're able to make use of margin and padding when it comes to giving some space within and from a particular place in your container.
Hello everyone. So in this part of the video, I'd like to walk you guys through on how to add borders in Bootstrap. So as you can see right here, borders is one of the utility classes that we will be using. So borders can be added into any container, any div just by saying border, as like this. In this case, all you have to do just need to be adding class followed by, and inside the class you just need to be having borders like this. And of course borders, when you say borders, you should only be having just like a gray border surrounding this particular div right here. When you say border top, you'll be having only at the top right here. And of course everything else is like, when you say border end, it should be only be having right here, and bottom should be only at the bottom, and start should be only on left hand side right here. And those are the ones that are meant for specific part of the div. And let's say if you would like to have like a subtractive like this. Subtractive is basically used to not to have border. For example, border 0 literally means no border, and of course border top 0 means only at the top right here there's no borders, and of course at the end, only at the end right here there's no border. And border bottom dash 0 literally means at the bottom right here there's no 0, and of course same like start 0, which means is there's no border at the start right here. And let's look at colors as well. So as you can see, border color is basically we are just adding colors to borders that we would like to have. For example, in this case, this particular border is having blue color. So as you can see, in order to have a blue color, we're going to be using primary. So in order to add like a border with blue colored border, all you have to do is just need to be adding border followed by border dash primary. And this is the way how you're able to add colors to your border. And of course, since there are also other colors, for example, there's primary, secondary, and all the way up to white. And as you can see, this is the colors that we can actually make use of. And we can also add width for the borders. In this case, of course, maybe starting with border followed by border dash 1 like this, and of course border dash 2, 3, and all the way up to 5. And this way we are able to give more thickness to the particular border that we would like to add. And besides that, we can also give radius, like how curved we would like to have this particular borders to have. For in the first case, we have rounded. Rounded will be having just like this particular corners right here. And of course, when you say rounded top, the both sides at the top right here will be having rounded corners. And rounded end will be only on this right hand side right here. And a border bottom will be only at the bottom right here. And start will be only on the left hand side right here. And bottom circle is basically, rounded circle is basically to make it the entire div or container to make it circle like this. And of course we also happen to have border pill. Pill is basically to have all the sides to be having maximum rounded corners, but it's going to be having a bit more wider width like this. So this makes look like a pill like this. And we can also give sizes to this particular borders. For example, in this case we can say rounded dash 0 literally means nothing. So as you can see, there's no rounded corners right here. And rounded dash 1 literally means is to have the minimum rounded like this, rounded corners. And of course 2 will be a bit more, and 3 will be a bit more than that. And those are things that we would like to look at today. So in this case, let's actually make use of this in actual code. And there you go. Right now we just happen to have a blank HTML code like this. In this case, I just have div, empty div like this, and this particular div will be having a simple text called subscribe. And of course, as you can see here, let's say in this particular div I would like to add some border class. As you can see here, when I add border, you'll be able to find a gray colored border have just been added. So in this case, that's the first part here. As you can see, we can also like change where we would like to have the borders. In this case, let's say if I put border only on the top right here, in this case, all I have to do just need to be adding border dash top. And as you can see here, when I add border dash top, you will only find the border only applies at the top right here, and also applies for the bottom right here. If I change it to bottom, you'll be able to find the border only applies at the bottom right here. And of course same goes to start and end, and you will be able to find the start. As you can see, this is the border right here. And of course when I change it to end, you're able to find the border only applies at this particular right hand side right here. So let's actually go to subtract. So subtract basically is to remove border from a particular side. So in this case, of course, we're going to be starting with border just like this and followed by border dash 0. And just like this, you'll be able to find there's no borders has been applied. And this is because all the 4 sides have been removed. And let's say if I would like to only remove on the top. So in this case, all I have to do is just be adding top right here. And when I add a top right here, you will be able to find only the top part has been removed. And if I say border dash bottom, and you will be able to find only the bottom has been removed. And of course, we can also it also applies for start and end. Okay, that's it. And of course, let's go to how to add colors, different colors to your border. All you have to do is just need to be replacing the second border with a particular color. So in this case, I like to add primary. And there you go. When I added primary, you'll be able to find the color has been changed to blue. And of course, it applies for all the other colors. And so in this case, we can change the primary to secondary. Just like this. Now, of course, we can change it to other colors. In this case, I like to say success. And this turns out to be green. And of course, we can also have other colors. In this case, I like to change it to danger. And there you go. Right now, we have changed to red. And those are also other colors that you can try. And next thing besides color, we can also change the width of this particular border. So in this case, I like to add, instead of just saying border dash, and in this case, we can also change the thickness of this particular borders. So in this case, all you have to do is just need to be adding another class. In this case, I like to say border dash 1. Well, border dash 1 is basically the default width. We can also add it to 2. And of course, when you add to 2, you'll be able to find the thickness has just increased slightly. And of course, we can just add all the way up to 5 like this. And when you added 5 right here, you can be able to find the obvious change right here where the thickness has just increased all the way up to 5. And besides thickness, we can also add border radius. So border radius is basically just to have some corner radius to a particular border. And as you can see here, we can just change this particular thickness right here. In this case, I'm just going to be saying replacing this with rounded. When I say rounded, you're able to find you'll be having some rounded corners on all the 4 sides. And this is basically to have rounded corners on all the 4 sides. And in this case, we can also give rounded corners only on specific side of a particular container. So for a particular div, in this case, I like to give rounded corners only at the top part of this particular div. So in this case, I like to say rounded dash top. So as you can see here, only the top part has been having the rounded corners. And if I say bottom instead, you'll be able to find only the bottom side will be having rounded corners. And if I like to have it only on the side, in this case, let's say start. And when I say start, you will be able to find the rounded corners only applies on our left hand side. And if I change this particular start to end, you'll be able to find it only applies on our left hand side right here. And this is to give rounded corners on all the 4 sides. And we can also have rounded equals to circle, which is meant for making a particular div to become a circle. So let's give it a try what happens when we add circle. And as you can see here, when we add circle, it just becomes like a huge circle right here. But in this case, the reason why it looks like this because we are using div. Usually we don't use div without actually setting up a specific width and height. And that way we are able to make it look like an actual circle. So let's change this particular div and let's use span instead. So when we use span right here, you're able to find it only surrounds the subscribe text right here. So in this case, all I like to do is to reduce the number of text right here. In this case, I like to say SSS and you're able to find it becomes a circle. So it all depends on the width of the particular div. And by doing that, we're able to make a circle like this. So in this case, we are able to use rounded circle for this particular part. And next thing is that we can also make use of pills. So pills is basically is to give maximum rounded corners on all both sides. So in this case, I like to change the circle to pill. And there you go, you're able to find it looks like an actual pill, like right here. And this basically can be used for buttons. So buttons are the ones that we usually use this particular pill styling effect and together with the border. And this is how we are able to have rounded corners on all the 4 sides. And we can also give, and let's say if you would like to have like a specific value for how rounded you would like to have. So we can start from all the way, instead of just fill right here, you can just say 0. So 0 literally means nothing, and we can also increase the 0 from 0 to 1, and when we add 1 right here, we're able to find some rounded corners have been applied. And of course, let's say if I add 2 right here, we're able to find that there are more corner radius have been applied. And of course, if I add 3, yeah, as you can see, if I this is the 3 is the maximum value for having rounded corner, but then you can just change it to pills if you would like to have maximum rounded corners in this case. So for example, if you want to like to have value, 3 is the maximum, by the way. And there you go. Right now we are able to understand some idea and of course get some gist on how to apply border to your particular website using Bootstrap. And those are the things that are actually they've mentioned right there are the ones that and the most commonly used for components like buttons and other components as well. So in this part of the video, I'll have to walk you guys through on how to add shadows in Bootstrap. So as you can see here, box shadows or just shadows is one of the utility classes in Bootstrap whereby you are able to add to your components and divs. So in order to add this particular shadow effect to our container and components, we can actually see on how Bootstrap can be used. And as you can see right here, you can just add shadow just by saying shadow. And of course, we have multiple ways to call a shadow. In this case, let's say you don't want a shadow, you can just say shadow dash none. And if you wanted to have like a very small, the smallest shadow you can ever find here is shadow dash sm. And for a medium sized shadow, you can just say shadow like this. And of course, if you like to have a bigger sized shadow, you can just say shadow dash lg. And that's how simple it is. So now let's see how we are able to make use of this particular Bootstrap styling properties into our div in actual code. Alright, in our code right here, all you have to do is we need to be having a simple div. So in this case, I like to call a simple div. And inside this div, I'm just going to be naming something. And of course, inside this particular div right here, I would like to call a simple class name. And this class should be able to, before even adding shadow, I would like to create like a shape for it. So in this case, by default, it's going to be a rectangular shape. So I like to add like a border first to show where is this particular edge is located. So just by saying border, you'll be able to find some border has been created. And I like to add some margin so that you can actually see the shadows on all 4 sides. And when you don't add margin, you don't find the shadow that actually applied on our sites right here. So in this case, I like to say m equals to 5, m dash 5. And just like this, you are able to find this particular div right here will be having some spacing around here, which is around m equals to 5. And of course, I like to give some spacing within this particular div as well. So then I like to add p dash 5. And just by saying that, you are able to find that some space has been given within this particular div. And the next thing is to have actually to add shadow. So in this case, I like to start by saying shadow. Just by saying shadow, you are able to find this particular div will be having like a medium-sized shadow like this. And of course, let's say if you like to add like a different shadow, for in this case, I like to add shadow dash sm. Like this, sms is meant for small, and you can see the difference right here. As you can see here, there is some shadow, but it's very little, and here there is some shadow, but it's much more than this particular sm right here. And of course, let's go to the next one. And of course, let's actually add another div right below right here. So in this case, I like to add another div just by duplicating the previous one. And instead of sm right here, I like to say lg instead. So lg refers to big, and of course, that's the largest shadow you can actually form among this. And there you go. You'll be able to find, as you can see, the value of shadow given right here is much more bigger and larger than the 2 right here. And that's how you're able to add shadow to your container or your div. And of course, there's one more thing that's left. It's basically shadow dash none. So shadow dash none is basically does not happen to exhibit any styling properties for shadow. So as you can see right here, this particular subscribe button right here does not happen to have any shadow because we just put dash none. And this basically is basically the same like when you don't actually even apply anything. And this is just like a condition where you are able to make use of this only when you don't want to have any shadow. And yeah, these are the basic ways how you're able to add shadow to your container and divs. So in this part of the video, I'd like to walk you guys through on how to add layouts. So there can be many layouts that we can actually add to our page in Bootstrap. So one of the ways that we can add using containers. So containers is the most commonly used page layout feature that can be utilized in any of the pages. So what does container does is actually it gives like a specific styling properties to your page so that it looks much more neat. And in this case, I'd like to give like an example of what kind of styling properties it does add. It can be in either in padding and of course text alignment and also it gives a specific max width. And this is basically one of the ways where we're able to use to make our page far more neat and responsive at the same time. So as you can see, when we scroll a bit to the bottom right here, we are able to find there are many ways containers can be used for almost every single sizes of screen. As you can see, there's container and of course container SM and container MD right here. All of this are actually representing the max width that will be applied to your page when you use this particular feature called container. So as you can see, what does it, and of course it also applies to a specific screen sizes and resolution. For example, for extra small sized screens where the size of the width will be less than 575 pixels, this particular container will be having 100% of width. And this is the basic idea of what does this particular table is all about. It's basically is to have the name of the container and of course and the max width it will apply to their respective screen sizes. And let's actually look on how to actually make use of all of this in actual code so that you'll be able to have a better visualization of how to use container. And right now in my code right here, I happen to have a simple text components right here, which is h3 and a p tag right here. And of course, as you can see on my right hand side, you will be able to find the actual components right here. So in this case, I have to add containers for the first time right here. So in order to add container, I like to, of course, I'm going to be wrapping this particular two of these particular components with div. And there you go. Right now, you need to be having this particular two text components has already been wrapped within a div, and all I have to do just need to be adding container styling properties. And there you go. I just added container right here, and you're able to find as some change has been made. In the first change, you'll be able to find there is a gap has been formed on both of the sides right here. The reason why is because of this particular div is already been applied max width, and max width added right here. So as you can see, when I just click on this particular thing right here, you're able to find a max width of 720 pixels has been added, and this particular max width will be changing according to the screen size. As you can see, when I just reduce the screen size, the max width also changes accordingly like this. And there you go. This is how a basic idea of container is basically. And let's actually add like a simple border in our code. So in this case, I like to add just beside this particular container right here. I'm going to be adding border just to give us a better visualization on where is this particular container is actually formed. And there you go. Right now, as you can see here, when I try to change the screen sizes, in this case, I like to use this particular toggle device emulation. As you can see right here, I'm using iPhone. So iPhone is basically the smallest, which is basically one of the smallest. And if you can change it to a tablet size, in this case, I like to change it to iPad mini. So as you can see, when I change it to iPad mini right here, where the minimum width is basically 768, and if you were to compare it to your minimum width right here, 768 pixels, you'll be having 720 pixels max width. And this is basically the same as what it has been applied right here. When we apply container for a size where the width is greater than or equals to 760 pixels, you'll be having 720 pixels of max width. And this is basically the same as what's actually being applied right here. And let's say if I were to reduce the size to 576 pixels right here, and in this case I like to just like make it responsive so that you're able to find, we can actually control the width right here. So in this case I like to reduce the width, and let's say if I would like to go to less than 760 pixels right here. As you can see, right now we happen to have 769, and if I just reduce it a bit to 766, you'll be able to find the max width has just reduced to 540 pixels right here. And this is how it actually works. And of course, if I reduce the size of the width from 576 pixels right here, you're able to find the max width becomes 100%.
As you can see, when I reduce it a bit less than 576, which is right here, as you can see right now, the max width has become 100% like this, because we are using 756 pixels right here, for extra small size screens. And when you hover on top of this, you don't find any max width styling properties has been applied. It's just you'll be able to find the width equals to 100% has been applied. And this is the basic idea of what does container even means, is to have max width, and of course is to at the same time to center this particular div right here. And of course, this is the basic idea. And let's say we also have other container style effects as well. And in this case, we have container-sm. And what does container-sm literally means is that it's actually like a smaller container, but actually it's like actually the same right here. The difference will only be starting from MD right here. When you are having container is meant for extra small and small, it will be 100%. And of course, let's go to LG. So LG will be 100% max width all the way up to medium, and of course same like XL will be all the way up to large, double XL will be 100% all the way up to extra large, and of course fluid will be always be 100. And of course this is the basic idea of all the containers. So let's actually make use of other containers as well. And there you go. As you can see, this is the first one right here. For comparison, I like to make a copy of this first, and I like to place it right below right here, and inside the bottom right here, like instead of just container, I like to change this particular container-md. So what does this means is that the max width will become 100% until to a certain level, and that level is basically all the way up. So extra small and small will be 100%, and only for medium size screen it will be 720 pixels. As you can see here, when I increase it a bit, it becomes the same as the one on the top right here. So it only applies 100% all the way up to small and extra small size screen like this. And of course, let's actually make it a bit more smaller like this. And let's say if I like to have another new container styling, in this case I like to have, instead of container-md, I like to change it to md to lg like this. And you'll be able to find these two having almost the same, but when I increase the size a bit, like here, as you can see, the third one, which is LG, is actually filling up the entire space. And of course, that's the basic difference. And if I reduce it a bit like this, you'll be able to find these two are having 100%. And of course, the max width only applies when the width of the screen actually becomes for large size screens only. And that's the basic idea. And of course, let's try the last one, which is the container-fluid. Let's see what happens for comparison. In this case, instead of LG right here, I'm going to change it to fluid. So when I change it to fluid right here, you're able to find this the last one right here, which I'll just name it fluid text. This particular fluid container right here, you're able to find the max width will not be applied in any way, because it's like 100% all the time. And as you can see right here, you're able to find the other max width will be applied. And those are the basic ideas on how to make use of containers for your page. And of course, containers can be used in most of the time, because containers are the most commonly used styling properties in Bootstrap, because it's best for making your page looks much more responsive. And of course, it will be very helpful when you are actually making your content to become very responsive on almost every single pages. And that's the reason why we are using container for most of the instances. So in this part of the video, I'd like to walk you guys through on how to make use of grids. So grids, it's one way to add layouts to your particular page with Bootstrap. So what does grids actually means is to have rows and columns to be placed in your page. So by placing rows and columns, you'll be able to place your content. So by placing your content within this particular grids, it will look far more neat and responsive at the same time. So this is why we're going to be using grids in our Bootstrap page. So as you can see right here, in order to add grids to your page, so in this particular layout, all you have to do, so in order to add grid layout to your page, all you have to do is just need to be adding a class named container like this. This is just one way. And of course, the most important one will be to have rows and columns, right? Like this, as you can see here, we happen to have one class called row, which actually wraps the entire, there's 3 classes inside here that has been nested within this particular row class. So as you can see, there's 3 column classes inside the row class right here. And of course, by wrapping your column classes within your row classes, you will be able to find that there can be 3 columns will be placed within in one row like this. And this is the basic structure on how to actually implement grids in our page. Okay, now let's see on how grids actually work. And of course, grids are actually compromises of rows and columns. So in a typical row, there can be all the way up to 12 columns that can be formed within one row, and that particular 12 columns can be placed within one row like here. As you can see right here, when you just place col, or you can just say column like this, if you just say col without any value like this will actually make it responsive to your row. And let's say, as you can see right here we have 4 columns right here. So what does it mean? Makes it is that there'll be 3 columns will be placed in every single div right here. So as you can see, this is in the first particular div right here, it actually has 3 columns, and there's another 3 columns right here, and of course the same like here and here. And this is because when you place col, it will be filling up the entire space, and of course it will also make room for others, and they actually share the same space for row equally. And this is what this particular all the column will be about. And when you add value just beside the column, for in this case we have column dash 8. Column dash 8 literally means is to occupy 8 columns in this particular div right here. And of course col dash 4 is basically the same as is to occupy 4 columns within this particular div right here. And this is a basic idea on how to actually make use of columns. And we can also like make use columns on a specific screen sizes by placing SM. So SM is meant for small sized screen, and of course we also happen to have MD right here, and MD can be used for medium sized screen and above. And that's the reason, that's the difference between SM and MD. And if you don't come with anything, like for example col 6 is basically meant for all screen sizes. That's the difference right here. So as you can see, what does col SM8 literally means is that whenever for small sized screens, this particular column will be occupying 8 columns, and this particular div will be occupying 4 columns right here for a small sized screen. And that's the basic idea when we use SM. And if you were to use MD right here, as you can see, when it is medium sized screen, this particular div right here will be occupying 8 columns. And of course, right on our right hand side right here, this particular div says col dash 6 literally means it will occupy 6 columns most of the time, and except for when the screen size is MD, which is medium, it will take up 4 spaces. This is the basic idea of what does you are able to find why there's two column properties like this. So this is meant for like most of the time, and this is meant for only when the screen size is MD, medium size screen by the way. And this is the basic idea how you're able to make use of columns in grid. Now let's actually look at our example in our code so that we are able to have far more better understanding. Now let's look at our code right here. In our code, we can actually make use of grids layout into our code right here. All you have to do is just need to be starting with a class, a div class right like this. And inside this particular div class should be, the first thing we should be doing is to have container to be the class here right inside here. In this case, I have to say container. Of course, I would also like to visualize where is this particular container is located. So by that, I would like to have border. Just by saying border, you will be able to find there will be a gray line will be formed right here. So in this case, I like to add some padding so that you're able to find some space that will be placed within the containers. In this case, I like to say padding equals to 5. So you guys can see when you place padding equals to 5, you're able to find this particular gray colored border will be formed right here. And of course, I also like to add like margin right here just to have some spacing on the top right here. So in this case, I say margin dash 5, and you'll be able to find there's some spacing at the top has been placed right here. And inside this particular container is where we'll be placing the row and the columns. So in this case, the next class I like to add is called row. So in this particular div, I like to place row. So after this particular row, you're able to find that you will need to be placing columns right inside this particular row like this. So in this case, I have to add another class name. And inside this particular div, I like to place a class for column just by saying col like this. And when we add column like this, as you won't be finding any effects right here because you need to be adding colors or something to actually just view the particular column is being created. And first of all, in order to have some visualization, I like to add padding -5 as well. And of course, you also need to be adding color. In this case, I have to say BG -primary as well. You're able to find your column will be placed right here. So in this case, I'll just put a naming for in this case. I'll say column 1. And column 1 is just to represent the first column that we place it. So in this case, there's only one column, one div that actually occupies the entire row. And let's say if you like to make a copy of this particular column, just like make a duplicate of this particular column and placing it right in the bottom below the first column, and just changing this to number 2, you will be able to find there's 2 columns that have been formed right here. Let me just change the color from primary to secondary. And once I change the color, you'll be able to find there's 2 columns have been placed right here. This particular columns are actually occupying 6 and 6 columns separately of the entire row. And that's what it actually means by saying column. And we can actually increase this particular number of columns by placing it right below here. And of course, let's change it to success like this. So when you change the color to success, you're able to find there's another new column have been formed right here. So what does this particular call actually means is that what does it do? It just occupies the entire space, and at the same time it also makes room for other columns to have equal columns as well. That's what column is all about if you don't specify any value to this. Alright, now next thing is that I like to add another column right below the third column right here. And when I add that, of course, there'll be another new column will be formed right here. And of course, I like to change the color to red by changing the text to danger. And like this, you're able to find the fourth color there'll be a 4 columns right here. And since it's responsive, you're able to control this particular width of the particular column, and it'll always be like this. And of course, as you can see, when I reduce the size of this particular column, you're able to find the 4th column will be placed at the bottom right here. Because as you know, when we're using column, there's another new rule that will be applied for small sized screens, where it'll only occupy as much as 4 columns when it's small size screen like this. So as you can see, since there's 3 columns right here, so 4 times 3 is 12, and whatever that actually exceeds the 12th column, it goes to the following row. And this is how it actually works for normal column right here. Now let's actually see what happens when we specify the value of columns. So in this case, I like to make a copy of this, and let's just place it right below here, and we can see the difference on the top and the bottom right here. So as you can see, the top is meant for basic grids, and the bottom right here will be meant for column with specific widths. So in this case, let's say column widths, just like this. And of course, I'll remove this particular padding here. We don't need this particular padding. And same goes to the bottom right here. We don't need the padding for both of the containers. And this is how we are able to visualize it now. So as you can see, when we are also able to make use of by adding specific column width, so that it will be far more better. So in the first case, like I said, of course, I'll remove the last one right here. And just by having 3 columns right here, I'll be able to change the size of the columns width. So in this case, I like to make use of I like to have the first column to occupy 6 columns. In this case, I like to say column -6, and by saying that, you're able to find the other 2 will be occupying the remaining 6 spaces equally like this. So in this case, this column will be having 3 and this column will be having 3. And let's say if I would like to increase the value of this particular column to 9, and you're able to find, as you can see, when I increase it to 9, the minimum space will be left is 3, and whatever is more than 12 will be moved to the bottom. So when I increase the width right like this, so when I increase the width of the screen, you're able to find this particular row will occupy the remaining columns like this. So 9 here, and with the 3 right here, with the 3 columns right here, they actually having equally separated like this, equally shared among them. So 1.5 and 1.5 like this. And this is how we are able to make use of columns with specific width. And let's actually to see what else can we do. So in this case, instead of just using column -9 right here, I also make it equal. So in this case, I will say dash equals to 4, equals to 4, and equals to 4, -4. So what does it mean is that this is going to be making sure to use the entire space equally. And we can also make it, and next we can also see what happens when there is an extra space left when we don't actually make use of the entire row. For this case, I like to say, let's say if I use the first column to be 3, and of course I like to use the same value for the following two. In this case, I like to have 3 columns with the same 3 spaces like this. And of course, when there's 3 times 3, it's just 9, and you still have like a 3 more spaces to be filled, and but then there's no column to be filled, so you'll be having like an empty space like this. And this is to make sure to have like a designated place to have your empty space, right? So it does not actually fill the empty space as well. And that's how it makes a difference when it comes to having value within container. And next, I would like to show you guys on how are we able to change the size of the width according to screen sizes. And basically is to make it responsive when we like to change it to different screen sizes, to make the columns to have different size depending on the screen sizes. So that's what I like to show you guys next. So I'd like to make a copy of the previous one like this and place it right below right here. In this case, I will say responsive widths. So what does responsive width means is that I like to make sure to have a certain value only when it's in a certain screen size. So first of all, I like to make use, let's say if you like to have this particular row of 3 columns right here. As you can see, there's 3 columns. So I like to make these 3 columns to have most of the time it should occupy like this. But when it comes to mobile view, I would like to have the first column to be filling up the entire space, while the other 2 columns should be equally occupied in a separate row like this at the bottom right here. So that's how I like to achieve. But as you can see here, when I make it in this, at the moment it's not like this. As you can see, when I reduce the size, it always like this. It always stays in the same row. But I don't want to make it like this. I like to make sure when it's in small size screens, I like to make the first column to fill the entire space. So in order to have that achieve that particular requirement I've just mentioned, you need to make sure to add column SM. So that's only applies for small size screen. So in this case, I'll say col dash SM dash 12. So as you can see right here, when you add that dash 12, it actually applies to fill the entire space only when it is in small size screens. So when I increase the width of the particular screen right here, like for example, so as you can see right here, when I add col SM12, the first column actually occupies the entire row. And in order to have the following 2 columns to also occupy their own row, we also need to be adding the same column SM in this case, but then we need to be changing for this case the 12 to 6 like this. And of course we need to make sure to place 6 for both of this so that they're able to spread out properly like this. And of course, you can see here when you open the screen right here, you're able to find this columns are actually aligning like how we want to do. But as you can see right here, I don't want it to be occupying the entire space on medium size screen like this. So in order to have only small size screens, we must be adding another responsiveness class for MD. So in this case, instead of just saying col dash 4 right here, we need to be adding MD right after this, and this right after SM, by the way. So in this case, I will say col dash MD dash M. You'll be able to find this is how it looks like this. And of course, you'll be making sure to place it right at the bottom here as well like this. And as you can see here, when you place it right like this, you're able to find this particular 3 columns are actually placed in the same row when we increase the size. As you can see, this is the medium size screen. So when you go to small size screen like this, and the first column will be applying this col SM12 feature like this. So now let's actually look at how are we able to change the responsiveness. As you can see, when I go to inspect right here, and when I reduce the size from, actually at the moment we are actually in medium size screen. So when you reduce it a bit, now this is the small size screen. So you are able to find column 1 is occupying the entire row. And we reduce it a bit more further like this, you're able to find the 3 columns actually placed in the same row, which actually applies the first one right here, which is meant for extra small size screens. And that's how it works for actually to make that, and that's how you're able to make use of responsiveness in grid layout. Okay, so the next thing I'd like to show you guys, which will be the last one for the particular part right here. As you can see, I would like to make use of the empty space that has been formed right here. As you can see in the second row right here, you're able to find there'll be some empty rows, empty column when there's not enough of columns that have been occupied. So when there's an empty column, we are able to move these three columns and move these three columns to side or align them in the center, so it does not look really empty like this. So let's make a copy of the second row, and I like to paste it at the last part right here. And of course I like to label this for justifying columns like this. And of course, as you can see right here, we are able to have the row with an extra empty space like this. So in order to make these particular columns to actually to move and align to right, left, center, we are able to make use of justify content styling properties. And let's add that right after this particular row right here. So in order to have, just add justify content. And justify content will be having many multiple ways to justify the content. In this case, let's say around, between, center, and evenly. And these are the ones that are mostly used right here. And of course, usually we'll start with the first one will be actually start. So start is just from this particular left hand side right here. And besides start, we also happen to have end. So end will be starting. The content will be starting from right to left like this. And besides end, we also happen to have around. So around will be having spaces between those three columns, and of course within the container as well. And besides around, we also happen to have between like this. So between will be having no spaces around the container's edge like this. And this is how you're able to make use of justify content to actually to change or to move your columns around within your row. And not to forget, we also can make them to align to the center like this. And when we align to the center, it just sticks to the center like this. This is how a simple row can also be formed like this. And if you notice that this particular justify content is also one of the properties that can be utilized for flexbox. So flexbox is also another different styling properties in CSS which can also be applied in Bootstrap as well. And of course, in this particular part of the video, what I like to teach you guys is I like to make use of the basics of grids that we have learned in the previous lesson. And I would like to make use of those core concepts and into actually building a landing page. So as you know, landing page usually will be having details and images of a particular product or services that you're actually offering. That's what I would like to walk you guys through. And of course, landing pages will be having multiple sections, and each sections will be having its own style, and that's what I like to walk you guys through. So in this case, I like to walk you guys through creating a landing page step by step. And then usually you will be able to start with the hero section. Hero sections will be the one that comes at the first part of the landing page, where on your left hand side you will be having some text, and in your right hand side you will be having some images, right? As you know, we are able to do something like that in this particular part. So first of all, I like to create like a simple section tag. As you know, landing page are actually separated by sections. So in this case, I like to create a section tag, just like this. And as you know, sections are actually also will be having like an ID prop. So ID is actually to uniquely identify which particular section is this. Look, it is. Let's say if I would have like an ID which is equals to hero. This case, what I'm trying to do is that I'm just making this particular section to be identified as hero, so that in this subsequent part of the video, I will be teaching you guys on how to create Navbar. And in that Navbar, we are able to scroll to this particular section when we click on the menu which says home. So in this way we are able to scroll when on click of a particular button in the Navbar. So that's the reason why I've added ID. Now let's actually add the content of this particular section. So the first thing is that, of course, when you wanted to add grids, we usually start with creating a class for container, and that's where we actually wrap the rest of the things inside it. So first of all, I like to create a container, and in this particular case, I like to create a bigger container. In this case, I like to say container-lg. And of course, let's create this particular div. This is where I like to add the grid layout. For example, there's going to be a rows and columns. So as you know, there's going to be inside one row, there'll be two columns. So that's what I like to do next. First of all, I like to create the row class first, just like this. And of course, let's create the class first. And inside this row is where I like to place the columns, the two columns that we'll be using. I like to call the column class. And as you can see, this is the first column right here. And as you can see, there's nothing much change has been made. So I like to create like a simple border right here. I mean, just like to see where are all the components are located. So in this case, I like to add border. But as you can see right here, we don't actually find anything because there's not much of padding has been added. So in this case, I like to add padding -5 like this, and you will be able to find the borders actually applied, and you're able to find this particular container is basically the entire component of this entire class. So let's say if I like to add another, just to duplicate this particular column. So in this case, you're able to find there's two columns has been formed right here. And the reason why it actually occupies the entire space right here, it is because of particular container -lg that I've used right here. So as you can see, when I remove the container -lg, then just by saying container, you're able to find there's some gap on both hand side because LG refers to having a bigger screen. That's why the LG is used right here. Now let's just focus on the first column that we have just created. The first column that we have just created, I'd like to add some text. So in this case, I'd like to add h1 tag like this. So adding h1 tag, I'd like to add the title. In this case, I'd like to say AirPods Pro. And this is just some dummy data of a particular product that I'm about to show. And of course, let's give some styling to this particular h1 tag. In this case, I'd add class. And you can actually add like display styling effects. In this case, I like to say display -2. And there you go. Just by having display -2, you're able to find the text style has been changed. And let's actually add a subtitle for this particular container, for this particular text. So there'll be a smaller text in this case. Let's place it right below here with the same h1 tag right here. But in this case, I'll change this display -2 to display -5 like this, and you're able to find the size has for this particular text has also been changed. And let's change the color of this particular subtitle text right here. So just by saying text -muted, you'll be able to find the color of this particular text has also been changed. And that's how you're able to give different styling effect to the same text tag like this. And of course, let's add more text right below this h1 tag. This case, I add like a p tag right below here to give some more context on what is this particular product is all about. And this particular p tag right here is where I'll be like to place some lorem ipsum text. So you're able to find this particular text actually occupies the entire space. And that's because this particular column, there's only one column exists, so it just fills up the entire space for now. And as you can see, we have only added a simple p tag right there without any styling for this particular p tag. So in this case, I'd like to add some class effects so that we're able to give some more styling properties. So first, I would like to add lead in order so that it actually applies to this particular p tag, and also it actually aligns with the same font that we're using in the previous text like this. And of course, I like to add some color, the same color of this particular text right here. So in this case, I just like to make use of text muted again. So in this case, I like to use text -muted. And you're able to find the color of this particular text has also been changed as well. And besides this particular text that we have just created right here, we can also include like a call to action button so that it actually applies to the person who views the page to make an action to this particular product or service that you're offering. So right below this p tag right here, you're able to add like a anchor tag right below here. And just by adding an anchor tag right here, and inside the anchor tag, we can actually include like a text which says buy now. This particular button can also have some styling properties like we have actually learned in the previous lessons. In this case, for buttons, we can actually add button, which is a universal styling properties, which actually gives this particular button right here some padding. And of course, as you can see here, we also actually happen to find this particular button will also change your cursor to pointer when we hover. And of course, there's no underline right here. And the next thing is that we can also add some color to this particular button. So in this case, I like to add button -secondary. And the reason why I added button dash secondary is because of this particular color scheme that we are following from the top right here, because it's actually gray. And let's make this particular button to become a bit more bigger. So in this case, I like to say button dash LG, something like this. And of course, you'll be able to find the button became a bit more bigger, slightly more bigger than previously it was. And yeah, that's just like the simple ways to actually create some text and some button right here. And next thing is I like to move on to the right hand side of the particular section for particular column. So in this case, I like to make a copy of this particular class, which is called MD. And of course, let's just like right below the first column that we have just created, like place this particular div. And of course, I like to open it at the same time, and you're able to find another new column have just been created like this, right? As you can see here. The next thing I like to add, I like to place an image on my right hand side. So I like to import the image first. So in order to import and place the image on your screen right here, you need to be calling the image tag like this. And of course, it's a self-closing tag, like this. And of course, in order to have your image to be called, you need to be having the source props as well. In this case, I call props, source props like this. Okay, the next thing is you need to give the reference to your image. So in this case, I have placed my image in the assets folder, and of course I've placed it inside the source. So in this case, I just like to say like this, and of course you're able to find your assets is here. Click on it, and of course you can just need to be clicking on this as well, and that's how easy is it to import an image like this. But as you can see here, this particular image is actually it's like a super huge image, and that's the reason why it actually overflows the container. So in order to have your image to be bound within a particular container width, so in this case, this can be resolved by adding like the styling properties as well to make sure your image actually fills the entire container and does not overflows the container. So in this case, I like to add a class name like this, and in this case, I like to add image fluid. You will find your image will be placed on right hand side like this. And as you can see, the reason why there's some gap here, as you can see, because we have added this padding -5 right here. We don't be needing padding -5, and this is how your image would look like if you have used image fluid. It just occupies the entire space. And of course, the next thing I like to check is to make sure that this particular components, this particular assets, the text and the images actually should be placed in the center of this particular column. So in this case, I like to go to this particular row class right here. And I like to place align items center so that it actually aligns to the center. So in this case, I say align -item center, just like this. And you're able to find your items are actually placed in the center like this. So when I increase the width of the screen, you're able to find both your assets actually align to the center. And the next thing is that I like to place some padding right here so that I actually have some more room in the center. So in this case, I like to go to the code right here, and for the inside the section right here, I like to place a simple styling properties. This case, I like to add like a padding, a class name for this. In this case, I like to add like a simple py, and this case, I like to add like a simple padding of y-axis of 5. So as you can see, when I added 5, you're able to find that some space has been created at the top right here, and of course there'll be some space will be provided here as well. And yeah, that's how you're able to make it to the center. And next let's look at how to make this particular, check whether is it even responsive. And let's say if I like to reduce the width of this particular class, you're able to find it's actually not so responsive. As you can see, there shouldn't be 2 columns when inside mobile screen. There should be only 1 column should be filling up the entire space, and only when we increase the width, something like this, there should be 2 columns only when the width has been increased. So in this case, I like to modify that. And in order to modify to show only 1 column when it is in mobile screen, so in this case, inside this particular column right here, I like to add column -md -5. So when you add column -md here, you should also be adding to the following column as well. And this is to reduce the width of the particular column, so that when it's reduced, to make it even more smaller, it will be filling up the entire space when you are in mobile screen. And that's the reason why I've placed column md5. And what does this particular call md5 also means is that when you are not have reached the medium sized screen, it will be filling up the entire 12 columns that are default. and only when it reaches MD, which is medium size screen, it will only have column, it will only take up column of 5, and you will have some 2 more extra columns that are actually left to be not to be filled, and which is right here, as you can see on our right hand side right here. This is the 2 columns that are not being filled when it reaches MD. Let's actually not to make it aligned to the left hand side like this, and let's add like a justify content styling properties to align these 2 components to align in the center. So in this case, I have justify content, and as you can see, just need to be placing this particular justify content center properties, and you're able to find both this of this text and the image right here actually align to the center like this. So when you increase the width of the screen like this 2 actually place in the center. And of course, as you can see, when we inspect, and let's look for the styling properties when it goes to the mobile size screen. As you can see, when we actually reduce the width of the particular screen, it actually fills up the entire space, the entire width when we reduce the width. As you can see, when you reduce the screen size a bit more further, it just keeps up the same ratio like this. And there you go. This is how you're able to make use of grids, and when it comes to having to make use in hero section. So as you can see, when we increase the size of the particular width, it actually applies. So this is one way we are able to make use of these particular grids to be applied to your landing page hero section.
So in this part of the video, I'd like to walk you guys through on how to create Navbar. So Navbar is actually the component that usually you'll be find at the top of a screen, and it is the one that we are able to use it to navigate between pages like this over here, right here. As you can see, this is a simple navbar. As you can see, if you scroll down in the navbar, and navbar can also be changing according to the screen size. As you can see right here, this is a simple navbar that's been created in Bootstrap. So what if you are able to change the screen size right like this, and if I reduce the screen size, you'll be able to find that some change will happen. As you can see right here, when the screen size changes, this particular actions that we used to see on our right hand side have been changed into a toggle button right here. So what does this toggle button does is that when you click on it, it just opens up the content of the navbar on our right hand side. So this is one simple way where we're able to make use of navbar right here. And we can also find there are many ways to implement navbar. For example, you can place image as the logo of on our left hand side, and we can also add forms to implement like an image to implement like a forms right here. And let's actually start making use of a navbar component into our code. As you can see right here, we have actually made a hero section in our previous video, and of course we will be placing the navbar right on top of the screen right here. And of course, navbar can sometimes be fixed or sticky based on your preference, because when we scroll down, this particular navbar should also be visible. And of course, let's actually remove this particular border right here. As you can see in our previous video, I have not removed the border, so I just like to remove the border just by removing this two border styling properties like this. And there you go. Right now you're able to find there will be no borders. And next thing is let's actually add the navbar component right at the top right here. So as you can see right above the hero section, I like to make just have a comment here first. So I like to comment right here, just like this. And right here, I like to start with the nav tag like this. And there you go. Right now we will able to find, yeah, I won't be able to find anything, but let's see if I add hello or anything just to see what happens. So as you can see, this particular hello is actually being placed here. This particular hello is actually being placed within a container that's invisible at the moment. So as you can see, when we go to inspect, and we can actually find this hello is actually being placed inside a big div component like this. And as you can see right here, you're able to find this particular nav is actually having like a simple class which will be having display equals to block. And let's actually add more styling properties to make even look like an actual navbar. So as you can see in our documentation right here, you will be able to find nav. You need to be having container. Actually, containers actually being used to, you're able to find the content of the navigation actually being wrapped within a container like this. In this case, it says container equals to fluid. So in this case, I can go back to my code, and of course, let's actually replace this particular hello right here with actually an actual div. with class name for container, and this case I like to place container right inside here. And of course, I like to place an anchor tag that has content says hello, or I can say logo right here. And there you go. Right now, you're able to find that some space has been created, and that space is actually the space that's given by the container. When we inspect the screen right here, you're able to find the logo will be having the wrapped again within a container. You can give more space for the container just by increasing the size of the container. Instead of just container, I can actually use container dash lg, and once you have given container dash lg, you're able to find that some gap has been created, and this is basically to give some spacing around the navbar component. And we can also add this particular class name called navbar brand, which is actually meant for the logo right here, to make it this, to make it bold. And that's what I'll be adding for this case. I like to add like a class name for this. And first of all, I like to add navbar brand like this, and you're able to find this became a bit more bigger. Next thing is that we can also add this particular h1 tag right here. So by adding h1 tag, yeah, it became a bit more bold like this. So when you hover on top of this particular logo, you're able to find your cursor becomes this particular cursor to select text. So I can change it to href. I like to add href, and just like to give like a hash symbol like this. You're able to find your cursor becomes pointer like this, and this is how you are able to create like simple logo. And you can also replace it with an image like here. As you can see, we can also use this particular bootstrap image. So in this case, I could just like make a copy of this image, and I could place it right, and there you go. But as you can see here, that I think that's I've not added actually anything to give some spacing or padding around the bootstrap logo. This is because in this particular navbar right here, I need to be adding the class called navbar. And as you can see, this particular navbar is the one that gives the padding and margin that's required. So in this case, I have to go back to the code right here to add class name. And this class should be having navbar. And once you added navbar, you're able to find that some padding has been added. And we can also give some background color for this. In this case, I can say bg-light. So bg-light just gives some really light gray color to fill up the entire navbar. And the next thing is like I can also place the image and the text together. In this case, together with the image like this. In this case, I can place the image at our left hand side and place the text right here. You need to be placing the entire image within the anchor tag like this. So you need to be placing it like inside here. And this particular this particular text should be placed right beside the image like this. Now in this case, you'll be able to find your logo will become in blue color. So we can actually change the color of our text just by adding span tag like this, just by placing a span tag. And you need to be placing the logo within the span tag right here. And of course, let's add a class name. And this class name should be having the color for this particular text. So in this case, I like to add text secondary just like this, and you're able to find the color of your logo text came gray. And there you go. Now let's actually move on to our actions we place on our right hand side. And as you can see right here, you're able to find there are some menu actions right here that are placed right beside the logo. As you can see right here, we can also see there's another element right here which says button. So this button is not below when it is in desktop view. So when we reduce the width of the screen like this, and you'll be able to find this button actually appears right here. So I like to make a copy of this particular button right here, and I like to place it right below the anchor tag. Okay, like this. So right, if you place it right below right here, you're able to find. Now as you can see here, once we added this particular button that should be placed right here, you're able to find your cursor becomes yeah, the button is actually is indeed being placed right here, but it's not actually viewed because the colors actually does not match the theme that we have selected. So what we can do is that we need to be adding navbar dash light, so that it actually gives like a basic layout to make some color, to add some color to the particular button. So this can add navbar dash light, and you're able to find the toggle button will be appearing because of the color that we have given. At the moment, this particular button does not do anything because we have not included the actions first. So as you can see inside the button that we have placed right here, it has its own action that happens when we click on it. So in this case it says data bootstrap toggle, which the action is to collapse. and the data bootstrap target, which will need to be collapsed, navbar, nav like this. And this is the area controls, and this is the area expanded. At the moment, it is not, by default, it is not expanded. That's why it's false right here. And the area label is toggle navigation. This is the label for this particular button. And this is the icon for this particular button right here. And of course, at the moment, we have already placed the button, so the button and the trigger. So we need to be placing the component that it will be opening and collapsing. So in this case, let's go back to the documentation right here. And this particular div list of navigation links are the ones that will be opening when we click on the particular button. So I'd like to copy all of this, and I'll be placing it right below the button right here. As you can see right here, at the moment you don't find anything at the moment, because for mobile sized screens, for this case, when I click on this, you're able to find the menus are actually popped out right here. When I increase the size of the screen, you're able to find that this particular navigation menu on top of here is actually missing, because it only, in this particular toggle button should only occur for mobile size screens. So in this case, that needs to be something that needs to be added. So in this case, as you can see right here inside the navbar here, we need to be adding this particular class, which it says navbar expand lg, which means it only should expand only when it is in large size screen. So I have to copy this, and once I place it right here, as you can see, if I place it right here, you're able to find this particular expand of the particular menu buttons will only be appearing for L screens that are actually bigger than this particular LG configuration, which are actually large size screens. As you can see right here, when we actually make use of the LG, you're able to find the menu will be appearing only for mobiles large size screens. So in this case, this is how you're able to make use of the responsiveness for your navbar. And before that, I also need to make sure to have the logo to be the button text to be a bit to the bottom right here. So in this case, I like to add, go to the logo right here, and in this case, right on the top, right in the image tag right here, I like to have the class name for to make the logo text to be aligned to the center. In this case, I like to say align text top like this, and you're able to find the text has been moved a bit to the bottom like this. And as you can see, it also aligns with the text as the. And the next part will be, I like to cover is to add this particular simple form right here. And this form is actually being placed in most of the navbar for the users to place like their emails and other stuffs. So let's actually make use of this, and just by copying this entire form by right here, and you can just place the form right after your div right here. So once you place your form at the end of your menu buttons like this, you need to make sure to make the menu buttons to align to the left hand side, while the form should be aligned to the right hand side like this. So in this case, we need to go to our code right here, and right inside the UL tag right here, you need to be adding margin for n like this. Of course, you need to be adding auto, and by that you're able to find your form will be placed on your right hand side like this. And this is to make sure to place it as far as possible. And of course, inside the form right here, we can also add like a simple, let's give like a margin y like this, and let's give around like 2 like this, and you're able to find your form will be placed. And yeah, now next thing is that let's actually move on to the next one, where we can actually give different color to our navbar just by saying navbar dark followed by the color. This case, the first example right here is just say dash dark, which literally means black. Second one is actually navbar dash dark and followed by bg dash primary, that's why it's blue. And the one that you can give like a custom color, you just can say background color like this. And let's actually add that. So in our navbar tag right here, we can actually give like a navbar dash dark styling properties. In this case, let's say navbar dash dark. And by giving this, you don't find anything else, because you need to be giving the color together with it. So in this case, I will give bg dash primary. So as you can see, when I place bg dash primary, there's no color has been changed, because we already happen to have another bg background styling properties for light. So in this case, I will remove it first. And as you can see, once I remove it, you are able to find you already happen to have your logo right here. And we can also change our logo color to white. As you can see right here, we all need to just be going to the color right here and just change the class of the particular logo to white like this. And once you change it to white, you're able to find your color has been changed as well, and together with the other stuffs as well. And of course, this particular button can also be changed just by going to the button right here at the form and just change the color to light like this, and you're able to find your color has been changed to white like this. And that's the way how you're able to add navbar that is actually indeed responsive, and at the same time it has to look nice in Bootstrap.
Now next we'll be adding some product cards so that it will be nice for a product website. So in this case, first of all, I'd like to show you guys on Bootstrap cards like this. So Bootstrap will be having its own set of styling properties just meant for cards. So cards can be anything that looks like this. By the way, this is like typical card where a card can be having an image in the top and the content, the body of content right here, and the call to action kind of button right here. So there are many ways you can actually add a card in Bootstrap, where you can just be adding the image and the body right like this, and also some either links like this, and also you can also happen to have headers and footers like this. And besides that, you are also able to add reads to your class, which we will be learning next. And of course, there are many ways you can actually style your class. In this case, we can also add colors to your text. For example, in this case, we have background color added like this. For example, this is like bg equals to dash primary, bg dash secondary, and all the way up to bg dash dark like this. So this is like one of the ways where we are able to add cards in Bootstrap. And as you can see here, this is just the borders actually used here, the border dash primary like this, and so on. And yeah, and let's actually make use of this particular Bootstrap card into our website. And in our website right here, I like to place another section right below here. Right below this particular hero section here, I like to create another new section. And of course, I like to label it with an ID. In this case, I like to say products. And in this case, I like to give like a padding of 5 or padding of y-axis. And the next thing is, of course, I like to add the background color for this particular section. So in this case, I like to say bg-light, just like this. And if we look at the website, you're able to find a gray color section has been formed right here with padding of 5 y-axis. Next thing, let's actually add the content here. So in this case, let's add container first. So in this case, let's add div class container. And I like to use container dash lg like this. And yeah, and first of all, I like to add the title for this particular section, where I like to place the text in the center right here. So in this case, I like to add a div like this, and this particular div should be, I like to make a class name for this particular div, where I like to center the text. So in this case, I like to add text center styling properties. And in this case, I like to add two texts right inside here. First of all, the title of this particular section, which is other products. So I like to make use of h2 tag like this, and I like to say other products. And when we look at our website like here, you will be able to find this particular other products has been created right here. I like to change this particular font to match almost like the one that previously we have used. So in this case, I like to add a class name for this h2 as well, and this class name will be display. So this case, display will be the one that I like to use. It will display 6, and you're able to find the font has been changed. And of course, let's like add another text right below here. And in this case, I have to make use of h2, change it to p tag. And of course, display shouldn't be very big. I like to make it very small, so I like to make use of lead. So lead is like a smaller version of the same text like this. You'll be able to find, yeah, something like other products. I just like to change the content of this particular text. Check out something like this, and you're able to find your text has been changed. So I like to change the color as well. So in this case, I like to add text dash muted, and you're able to find the color has also been changed like this. And next thing is I like to start adding the card itself. So the card, I like to make sure to add to go to that particular documentation, and the documentation right here, you're able to find the card. The class will be having a class name called card, and of course there will be an image will be placed, and that particular image will be having a class name that says card image top. And inside this is the image, by the way, and inside the body of this particular card, you can actually place the title, the card tags, and the call to action like this, just by saying button. And let's actually make use of this particular code. So first of all, I like to add a class name for card, something like this, and you're able to find in our code right here, you're able to find a huge container has been placed, because yeah, it shouldn't be like this. We should be placed in within the container, right? We have formed before. So I like to place the card right here inside this particular container. Yeah, something like this, and you're able to find this particular card is actually formed in the entire fills the entire container. So let's actually add some width for now, because we just need to be using just one of them just to show the card properties. So in this case, I can copy this particular width, and right here I like to paste it right here, and you're able to find your card will be formed right here. So it's just some small card. And let's actually add the content of the card. So in this case, I like to place the image tag right inside the card. So inside this image card, I like to add like a source for this particular class, where I actually imported a few images as well. So in this case, I like to take the first image. So I would like to import a particular image that we have just seen. So in this case, I like to go to assets and I like to take the first image, something like this. And of course, let's close this particular tag before we see the result. And let's actually add the class name for this particular image as well, which says card dash image dash top, like this. And you're able to find inside your code right here, you're able to find a simple card has been found with the image right here. Next thing, I like to add the content of the particular card right here. So in this case, I like to add div, and the class name is going to be called card body, something like this. Of course, let's make another new div, and inside here is where we'll be placing the content of this particular card. So I like to place the name of this particular card first. So I like to add an h5 tag like this, and I like to place the name of a particular product called AirPods Pro like this, and you're able to find your text will be formed right here. And this is the first text right here, and we should also be having a class name for this, which says card title. Next thing I like to add is this particular content right here. We will be using card text. So in this case, I like to make use of another text tag like this, and of course in this case I like to make use of a p tag instead of h5. So in this case, the second card class name will be card text, like this, and I like to change this particular name to something different. So in this case, I like to place the pricing of this particular product. In this case, I like to add around like $249 just to show the product is priced like this, and there you go. Now right now I like to make these two content of the particular products to be aligned to the center. So in this case, I like to add text center right in their parent class. So in this case, let's say text dash center, and just like this, you are able to find your text will be aligned to the center. And of course, I can see there's a lot of gap between the text and the image. So I like to add some margin so that you actually have some space at the bottom and lesser space between this particular image and the text. So in this case, I like to add margin bottom equals to 5, and you're able to find this particular class will be having some spacing right here. And I think I've forgotten to put a dash right here. As you can see, there's no card. It should be card dash body, and you're able to find something like this. There won't be any border like here. And the next thing is, I like to change the font to the font that we have used earlier. So in this case, I like to add lead right here, and that would be changing this particular font like this. And there you go. Right now we have just completed a simple product card like here. And next, actually, we can actually make use of this particular card to we can actually populate more than one card right here, because as you can see, there's only one card like this. And yeah, I would like to have more than one card right. So first of all, I would like to make use of grids. So grids is what we have learned in our previous lessons, where we can actually have multiple columns in the same row. Same goes to here. We can have multiple product cards in this particular same row. So in our code right here, I like to make use of this particular card right here to be the columns. So I like to, since we are actually making use of columns, we won't be needing this particular width right here. So as you can see, when I remove this particular width, you're able to find the card actually spans the entire container. So what we can do, we can actually add like a grid for this. So in this, first of all, I need to be creating the rows and columns. So in this case, I like to say div, where the class name should be row. And inside this particular row, I would like to add columns. So in this case, I like to add another div where I can place the columns. So in this case, this particular div, I like to add class name. This class name, I like to add column md-4. So this is basically what I'm doing right here. For medium-sized screens and above, these product cards will be taking 4 columns like this. So in this case, I like to take this particular product right here and just place it right inside. And of course, let's make it to this. Let's make this particular text to be aligned like this. And let's go to our code right here. You're able to find we are actually making use of 4 columns, right? There'll be 3 product cards right here, filling up for filling up the 3 columns right here. And let's see if I add just like to add another 2 like this, and you're able to find there'll be 3 product cards like this. And this is only meant for medium sized screens. So let's say for large size screen, for example, let's say like I can actually add like column followed by XL. I can actually add more than 3 product cards. So this can reduce the column span. So this can add 3 XL. So as you can see, when we increase the size like this, you're able to find there'll be more room for more product cards to be placed in the same row like this. And that's meant for big size screens. And how about for mobile size screens? So in this case, I have to add and first of all, I have to make sure to make a copy of this first. I like to have 3 copies like this. And let's actually see how does this particular product cards will be placed in small size screens. In this case, I have to make a copy of another card like this. Let's say there's 4 product cards like this. And let's say if I reduce the width of the screen. So as you can see here, I mean this is the small size screen, and when we reduce it a bit more further, it just like this. It just happens to have 1 product card. So it just like fills the entire space. Like it just uses the entire space by default until to a certain level of size screen, for example MD, and it just opens the entire thing. So there's something in this case, as you can see here, there's 3 product cards right here, and then when I reduce it to a certain extent, it just fills the entire space. So I don't want it to fill up the entire space. So what I can do I can actually add another styling properties for small size screens. So in this case, I have to say call -sm-6. So by doing that, we're able to have 2 product cards in the same row for small size screens. And also we can also add the same styling properties for extra small size. And whatever is less than extra small size screen, we can just put call -12 like this. And let's actually make a copy of this particular product cards. Like let's make 4 of this, and you're able to find in your code right here in your website like this. You're able to find when it is in your small size screen, there'll be 2. And let's say if I reduce it a bit more further for extra small size, it will be 2 as well. And whatever that's smaller than extra small, it will be taking up the entire space like this. This is called 12, and this will be extra small, and this will be small, and this will be medium size screen. And when I close this particular inspect, and this will be extra large screen like this. And as you can see, this I should be giving some spacing right here. So I like to go to this particular row class right here, and I like to add padding of 5, and this should be a y-axis padding. So when I add that, you're able to find there'll be some space has been given right here, and also at the bottom right here. And there you go. This is how a good way to make use of cards in your Bootstrap website so that it looks nice, and it also happens to be able to respond to different size of screens. So that way we are able to make our websites far more better looking and responsive. So the next thing I'd like to walk you guys through is actually how to add accordion. So as you can see in our Bootstrap documentation here, we will be learning about accordion. So what is exactly an accordion? So as you can see right here, if I just move it to the bottom here, you are able to see something like this. So this is actually like you have seen in multiple websites, especially in the frequently asked question section, where you're able to have this particular question will be listed out like this. And when you click on top of here, you'll be able to have the answers to that particular question that are actually placed right here. And this will be the content of this particular question. So this is what I like to add in our website. So as you can see, Bootstrap has done a complete code just for having this. As you can see, just to implement accordion. So as you can see right here, they have already happened to have a class named accordion, where they are able to click on any of these particular questions. As you can see, the questions will be listed like this, and the answer will be listed out like this. As you can see right here, you're able to find ID will be collapse 1. When you click on the question right here, this particular answer will be opening, and this is actually achieved by we are using this particular data bootstrap target, where you're able to click on this, and this particular trigger will be looking for this particular ID, whichever question that has the ID, and once you click on it, this particular answer with that particular ID will be opening. So this is how a basic Bootstrap accordion works. So we'll be implementing this. So as you can see in our website right here, I like to make a new section in our code right here, right below here. I like to add another new section, and this section is going to be called FAQ, and FAQs will be the one that will be identifying it. So of course, let's make it a complete section like this, and of course, let's actually add some basic styling. In this case, I'll add class, and of course, like usually we'll be starting with this particular p of padding of y scale. I'll add py-5 as usual. And as you can see in our code right here, a new section will be formed right here, which background colors will be white, so that actually will be different from the previous section. So of course, I like to add this particular title like this. And in order to add that particular title, I like to first of all create a container. So div class, and this particular class will be having container dash lg will be the class name for this particular container. And of course, let's add that. And inside this particular container is where I like to place the first of all I like to have the title for this particular section. So this like this, and inside this is where I'll be placing the two title, the title heading and the title subheading. So in this case, first of all, I'll add h2. As you can see here, we have already done almost similar to in our previous section. So I'd like to make a copy of this and just like to place it right here. And you'll be able to find already another new section with the same title has been formed. So I'll change the name right here. In this case, I'll change it to FAQ. And right below here, I'm just going to say frequently asked question, just like this, and you're able to find title will be formed. And next thing is I like to add grid, and in this case I like to place an image on my left hand side, and I like to place the accordion for frequently asked questions on my right hand side. So first of all, I like to add grids. So grids will be having rows and columns. So in this case, first of all, I like to add rows, a div with a class name called row, and inside here I like to place row. And inside this row, I like to place the two columns. So in this case, the first column, I like to create the first column. And in this case, I like to place only two columns. So in this case, I like to say column dash md dash 6. So what this means is that it just occupies 6 span of columns for medium-sized screens and above. So that's the basic idea. I like to make this a copy right below here, and like to place it right below here. And I like to place both of them to be separately like this, make them separate like this. And in the first column, I like to place an image. So I can add an image tag right here. In this case, I can add image tag with a source. And in this case, I like to call it another new image, and just close this particular image tag. Inside our website, you'll be able to find a new image will be placed right here. And this is exactly what I wanted it to look like. And next thing is I like to place a simple accordion right here. So in this case, I like to go to this particular accordion documentation and just like to copy whatever inside here. So in this case, you're able to have some basic understanding. I've already gone through how does this particular thing work. And let's go to our code right here. I like to place the accordion that we had just copied inside the second column right here. So I can place it right here. And there you go. In our website right here, you're able to find a simple accordion will be formed. So as you can see right here, you're able to find there's no much gap has been given at the top right here. So I like to make some room to give some spacing. So I like to add padding in our row. This can like to add padding top, or you can just say py-5 as usual, py-5 like this, and you're able to find there'll be some space has been given at the top right here. And there you go. Right now you're able to find a simple frequently asked question content has been made. And of course, as you can see, there's a huge gap between the image here and this particular frequently asked question right here. So in this case, let's go back to the code right here. Of course, I like to make close of this. And the next thing is I like to modify, instead of just 6 right here, I like to place 5. And as you can see, when I did 5 right here, you're able to find this particular accordion has moved towards left hand side right here. So in this case, I like to make them align to the center. And in order to do that, in order to achieve that, I like to code this particular row again and add justify content to the center like this. Just click on this and you're able to find those two contents actually align to the center. And this is a basic idea on how you're able to add some accordion to your website. So in the next part of the video, I'd like to walk you guys through on how to add list group to our website. And list group is basically another Bootstrap component where you are able to list down a series of cards, something like this. For example, as you can see right here, you're able to see a list of items here. We can actually modify more than this. This is just a basic example where the basic structure will be having list group, and the content that it has inside it will be having list group item as its class name as well. And this is some basic idea where you're able to have list group as their parent class, and the children will be having list group item. And that's the basic idea. And as you can see here, in order to add an active or highlight the entire children, child class. You need just need to be adding active like this. And besides that, if you want like to have it disabled like the first one right here, you just need to be adding disabled right here. And you can also add links and buttons to your particular list like this. As you can see, when we hover, our cursor changed to pointer just by having a href anchor tag right here. And of course, the class name should be list group item like this. And yeah, as you know, there are many ways to make it like this, where we are able to add numbers. And you also happen to have this, you can add something like, you can add a badge like this. And yeah, there are many ways you are able to customize this particular list group items, where we are able to add it into our website. And in our website, we have built this particular frequently asked questions section. Next thing is I would like to place another section where I like to place reviews from my previous customers, and I would like to make that particular reviews in a group of list, where I'll be able to make use of this particular list group component in Bootstrap. So let's go to our code, and in our code right here, I'd like to add another new section. And this particular section will be having an ID, and I'd like to place review. And inside here, of course, I'll be doing this almost the same thing like how I did it in the previous class, where I've used class name container, and of course the title will be here. So I have to make exactly the same for this particular section as well. And there you go. I just placed exactly the same thing like in the previous section, where I placed the container. And besides that, I've also placed this particular text right here, a group of text, where I've placed text center. And I just placed two tags. One will be the heading and this one will be the subheading. And here let's just change the name to review. And the bottom part here, I like to change it to our client's feedback. And just like this, if you check our website, you're able to find this particular section will be formed at the bottom right here. So I like to give some background, of course, just to separate the first section and the bottom section. So in this case, I like to add class name for the section right here. In this case, I like to call class. And of course, first of all, I need to give the padding of -5. And of course, the next thing I have to add is bg-light. And you're able to find there's a new section will be formed right here. And next thing is where I like to place the list group items. So I like to go to the bottom right here, and of course I like to create a div. And this is the div where I'll call the list group parent class. So in this case, like to say list group. Okay, that's the first one. Inside here is like where I'll be placing the list group items. So I like to create another div like this. And inside this div is where I'll call a class name for the child class. So in this case, I'll call it class list group item, something like this. And inside here is where we'll be able to place the content of a particular card right here. So in this case, I'll add h5 for the title. And inside here, I like to say the name of the particular customer. In this case, I like to say John Doe. And below here, I'll be just pasting the review from a particular customer. And of course, I'll be changing the tag to p tag for paragraph. And I'll like to place this particular text right here. And let's check our website right here. As you can see here, you're able to find a very long card has been created right here. And this is basically how you're able to implement the list group item as this is basically one of the item. So the one more thing I like to add is that, as you can see here, this particular card happens to be abnormally very long. So I'll like to make the size of this particular card to be a bit more smaller than how it looks. So first of all, I like to implement the grids concept where we actually made use of grid column in our previous sections, and that's exactly what I'll be using again for this particular section as well. So first of all, I like to create, just like on top of here, I like to create the rows and column class first. First of all, I like to create div class row, and this is the parent class. And inside here, I like to place the column class. In this case, I like to create another div, and inside this div is where I'll place the column -md-8. So what I'm doing here is that I'm actually creating a column which will span 8 columns from medium-sized screens and above. So this is my basic idea. So the next thing is I like to place this particular list group items right inside the column which we have just created like this. And by doing this, I'll be able to have them placed within this particular row and column. So if I go to my website right here, you're able to find the width of this particular group right here or you can see the card right here happens to be very small. And of course, as you can see here, when we use column, it always aligns to the left hand side by default. So let's make that particular column to align to the center by going to the row right here and add justify content center right like this. And let's check our website right here. You're able to have this particular card to be aligned to the center. And besides that, as you can see here, the content right here is very close to its borders. So I like to add some padding around the content. So I like to go to the content right here, which is this, and add around like padding. And padding would be around like 4 should do. And you're able to find, yeah, there's some space has been given right here. And also, as you can see here, I like to give more space from this particular card and the title right here. So in this case, I like to add PY, so PY-5. And when I added this particular padding of y-axis, you're able to find, yeah, there's some space have been given right here and also at the bottom right here. So actually, I can just make a repeating group of this particular item. So in this case, I like to make a copy of this and like to place it right below here. And yeah, I can just make it a couple of times, and you're able to find like a review can be made. And the next thing I like to add would be I like to add some stars right beside here to make it look like the customers are actually giving some ratings along with their comment right at the bottom right here. And so the next part of the video, I'll like to walk you guys through on how to add Bootstrap icons. As you can see right here in the Bootstrap icon page right here, you're able to find this is like a library of icons that are actually listed out inside Bootstrap library. So you can easily access any of these particular icons that are actually suitable for your need. So all you have to do, you need to be installing this particular Bootstrap icon right here. Just click on this particular install right here, and we just need to be having this particular CDN link. So just copy this and go to our code, and in our code right here, we just need to be placing it right inside the head tag right here. So place it right below the previous link that we have just pasted. So right now, once we have pasted it, we are able to make use of these particular icons. So as you can see here, there are many ways you can actually make use of these icons. One is SVG, and one more is this particular I tag right here. I is basically meant for icons usually. And let's actually start making use of one of these particular icons. So first of all, for our website right here, we will be needing star icon. So first of all, I'll like to look for star icon just by going to this particular search bar at the top and just type star. And you're able to find there are some icons that are actually listed. First of all, I have to take this particular star field. Once I click on it, you're able to find this particular icons are actually listed right here. So I'll have to copy this. And in our code, I want to go to the review section right here, and of course I like to paste it right on top of this particular name of the person who gave the comment. So once I go to the website, you're able to find a star will be placed right here. And let's actually change the color of the star first before we move on to the other stuff. So first of all, I like to go to this particular icon, and in this particular icon that we have just placed here, I like to change the color of the star. First of all, I like to add a styling. And so this styling is where I like to place the color. And as you can see here, you're able to find there are a wide range of colors to be selected. And in this case, I like to choose this particular gold color right here. So as you can see, just by saying gold, and we go back to our website, you're able to find your star color will be changed to this particular color. So let's make like 4 of this, and we can just like make you can just like duplicate 4 times. And yeah, as you can see right here, we happen to have 5 star like this. So, and also we can change the last star to become half filled, and just by saying that, we are able to have like a 4.5 kind of review. So we just need to be copying this and going back to our code, and in our code we just need to be replacing the last one with this particular half filled star, and just change the color and just be placing it right beside here. And as you can see here, this is how you're able to make use of icons in our Bootstrap website. And let's actually separate this particular star make them into one div. And just like this, you're able to have this particular div that's meant for keeping the stars. And let's actually make use of this particular group of stars to be placed on the other cards as well for the following 4 cards, right like this. And as you can see in our website, we happen to have a nice good looking review section like this, and there you go. So in the next part of the video, I'd like to walk you guys through on how to add forms to our website. So as you know, forms are basically is like an input where customers or someone who views your website can input their credentials or their details or anything. And what we can do, we can just submit the form to the server. And as you can know, Bootstrap has already have some built-in form classes, like you can have form controls and all of this, by the way. So as you know, form control actually basically the styling that's been given for inputs, and select is basically to have it like a drop down options and so on. There are many of them. So I'd like to walk you guys through a basic, just like the most fundamental concept of how to add form to our Bootstrap website. So first of all, you need to be having this particular form tag right here, and of course there's an open and closing. And besides that, you need to be having, let's say, in order to have this particular email and together with this particular input box, you need to be having first of all this component called label, and that label will be having four props like this. So four props basically it's going to be identifying which particular input have this particular ID. So by doing that, you are able to have the place together, and that's how it works. And of course, class label is meant for styling from Bootstrap, and this is where we place the name of this particular label. And next thing is the input. This input tag right here actually is a basic HTML input tag, and of course you need to be having the type like how a basic HTML should be having. And this is where we are able to have give some styling properties, which is form control. So as you can see, we have form control right here, and for the label we have form label right here. So that's what's different from between these two components. And next thing is basically the ID. So as you can see here, example input email 1 is basically should be corresponding to example input email 1 right here. Then these two having the same IDs together, they are automatically will be placed together. And yeah, that's the basic idea of how to have a simple input tag like here. And of course, password is basically you'll be having this particular dots right here is because we already have this particular type here. Input type is basically password. Other than that, it's all the same thing. Next thing is to add this particular button right here. As you can see, the button will be having this particular button tag right here as usual. And of course, the type has to be submit like how a typical HTML button should be. And of course, this particular button is basically to be having a simple button with button dash primary just for color. And there's nothing much new about this. And yeah, this is the basic idea of how to add forms. Okay, let me just show you what kind of other types of inputs that we can have. We have password, we have already covered password. We have disabled form. All you have to do just need to be having this particular disabled props right here. And besides that, we also have this particular select right here. So in select, we can actually have like this particular drop down menu where we are able to have multiple options. So in order to have this, all you have to do just need to be having this particular select tag right here. And inside here, you need to be having options with value. And of course, this is basically how you are able to select any one of this particular option, and then you are able to submit the form. And we also have sizing, what is the height of this particular input box should be. And of course we also happen to have checks and radios where we are able to check and uncheck the boxes right here. One of the things to be having is class form check, and of course we have form check input, and of course the basic HTML input type, which is type checkbox, and an ID is basically should be corresponding to the for value, and that's how your for value of the label, and that's how you're able to achieve this particular checkbox. And we also happen to have switches. Switches is basically this is how you are able to have from one side to another side. Let's say this is almost similar to checkbox, but then it's just a bit more different in terms of styling. And we also happen to have toggle, where it's like when once we click it, it will be active, and when we click again, it won't be active. Single toggle we have checked, and we have disabled, and so on. We also happen to have range. This is a simple input right here. And we also happen to have input group. Okay, input group is a bit more nicer and actually quite modern as well. As you can see here, the only difference is that we are able to add this particular section of this particular input box within the input box, where we are just able to just give anything. As you can see here, we're able to have like an icon, or this is just basically having this particular alias symbol. And actually you can also have icons, by the way, not just text, but you can also have icons. And we also happen to have floating labels. Floating label is where the labels are placed inside the input box, and once we click on it, it just becomes a bit to the top right here, and hence the name floating label, just like this. And that's why we're going to be adding as well. And also layout, where we're able to have position and segregate them. As you can see here, we're able to place them into one row like this, and of course we're able to place them in the same row like this. So yeah, I think so. And then as you can see here, when this email and password can be placed in the same row, and city and state and zip can be placed in the same row, and that's what this layout meant for. And we can also make them to be validated. For example, when you submit the form, like this, we're able to have all this validation to be added as well, together with this particular input boxes as well. And those are the basic ideas how are we able to make use of forms into our website. So now actually let's actually add form to our website right here. And in the previous part, I've actually gone through how to add this particular icons and together with the list group. Now I'd like to create another new section in our code. So in our code right here, I'll create a new section, and this section is going to be about user trying to fill in their credential into here. So usually a website usually will be having a particular place or section where customers can input their details, and this particular details are mostly is meant for either for subscribing to a particular newsletter or just by giving like a feedback to the website. So in this case I have to add like something more like adding like a feedback to our page. So as you can see here, I like to just like add another new section, just like label it. I like to say feedback section, and in this feedback section, of course, I like to have like an ID for this as well. So in this case I like to add ID. It's going to be feedback, just like this. Of course, just make a small f, and inside here I like to select almost the same like the one in the previously I've done. So as you can see right, I like to do something like this particular section right here, where I like to place the forms on my right hand side and some text section on my left hand side here. So I like to make a copy of this particular section as well. So in this case I like to go to this particular FAQ section, and I like to go to this particular FAQ section. I like to copy whatever is inside the container, and I like to go to this particular feed section again. And as you can see here, once we have added this, we are able to find this another new section has been added. It's just there's no gap at the top right here. I like to add some spacing at the top here, so I like to add some padding. So in this case I like to add padding Y into our feedback section like this. And of course we can just leave our section without any color, like white background like this. And of course let's change the title of this particular section, where in this case I like to say feedback. That's going to be the title of this particular section. And for subheading, I like to say share your thoughts, something like this, and you're able to find your website will be having this particular feedback section with this two particular. And the next thing is I like to have in the first column, I like to have some text, just like in this particular hero section. So I like to go to this again, I like to go back to the hero section, and this is where I like to have this particular, as you can see here, we happen to have all this text. So I like to copy everything, whatever it's inside here, just copy this entire column. I have to go back to this particular feedback section like this. In the first section, the first column right here, I like to replace it with this particular one that I just copied. As you can see here, we're able to find, we'll have some text on my left hand side right here. And as you can see, I'll just like to just keep it like this for now, but I'll just like to change this particular the title text to something more relevant. So I like to replace this particular title right here with share your thoughts again. So as you can see here, we're able to have this particular share your thoughts, and we won't be needing the subheading like this, and we can just keep it simple like this. And there you go. Right now, I like to do is that I like to have the second column right here, the right column right here, to be having this particular form right here. So I like to go to the most form control right here. That's the most basic one. So I like to go to this one, and I like to just like make use of this particular basic form layout which we have just gone through. So first of all, I have to go to the code right here, and of course I won't be needing this particular. Of course I won't be needing the content of this particular column, which I have actually copied directly from the previous section. So first of all, I like to have form tag to be placed right like this, and this is the form that actually wraps everything within that particular form that we are about to create on our right hand side right here. And of course, since we have form, first of all we like to start with label, something like this, and label should be having for, and this particular for is going to be identifying a particular inputs ID. So in this case I like to say name. So name is the one that I like to make like the input, the first input box. And the next is that I would like to have the class name for this particular label. So in this case I like to say class form dash label like this, and of course this particular label should be having a text also. So in this case I like to say name, or you can just say full name also. So besides that, I like to have input box right below here, input component, and this particular input component is going to be having an ID also. So first of all, I like to have ID to make sure to have this particular, to identify it uniquely. So I like to say name as well. And besides that, of course, the class name should be here as well. In this case, I like to add form control. So in that way, we are able to make use of that particular bootstrap styling. And not to forget, we also need to have the type of this particular input box. So in this case, the type is gonna be text. Yeah, just text, because there's gonna be name. And we can also have a placeholder for this particular input box where we can just say example or EG, and I'm gonna say John Doe because this is a name, just to identify the name. And there you go. This we have just created a simple input component together with its label like this. As you can see in our website right here, we're able to have something like this, and we can just. So next thing is I like to, instead of just having this particular basic one, I like to have input group. So input group is something that we have seen earlier in the beginning of this part. So in this case, I like to have the class name to be placed input group like this. We can just place this particular input within this particular input group div, right, like this. And let's place it right here, and inside here we can actually place like a span tag where we're able to have place a simple tags or anything like this. In this case, first of all, I like to have, like, let's say for example, I can just say at alias, and of course I need to be giving a class name for this as well. So in this case, I like to add input group tags like this. And if we go to the website, we are able to have this particular input groups symbol like this. So in this case, we are able to identify this particular name is going to be having this particular symbol. So we can also go to Bootstrap icons and look for a particular icon that is matching to the input. So first of all, I like to add user. So as you can see here, I can just get this particular person fill icon, just copy this and just go to our code, and I can just replace the alias symbol with this particular icon, right? As you can see right here, we're able to have a person icon together with the name like this. And let's actually go to the next part, where next input right here. So next input is going to be another input where it's going to be email this time. So in this case, I like to have the same, almost the same to each other. And the only difference is that I need to change the name. For example, the ID right here. So this particular name should be changed to an email, and also of course the ID should also changed also, and of course the name of this particular label also should be changed. For example, I need to make it email like this, and not to forget, this particular input should also be having the type to become email as well, because email is also a type of input. So in this case, I like to change the placeholder name to example at email.com. So as you can see here, we're able to have another input group like this, and of course you can see here there's no gap in between them, right? So we can just add something more like margin bottom for every single group. So in the first input group right here, I like to have MB4, and yeah, I just like to place it this, I like to copy this MB4 and also place it in the second input group like here. And once you go to our website, we're able to have some gap in between them. And next thing is I like to add another new form right below email right here, and this time I'm going to be using this particular floating labels. So floating labels is something that when we click on it, it should hover, and that particular label should hover, and it should just go to the top right here. And besides that, we can also give some custom height like this. So as you can see here, inside this particular input box right here, we're able to have style, and that style is going to be having height equals to 100 pixels. The only difference is that they are using text area. So text area is something new to be implemented, and besides that, it's just the same thing like this. So the label should be placed at the bottom, and all you have to do just to make sure to have this form floating class name to be placed as the parent class name. And let's add something like this. And this case, I like to have like a feedback column where people can just input whatever their thoughts are about this particular website. So I like to add something like this into our website right below the email right here. So in this case, I like to go to this particular bottom part of this particular email tag, and in this case I like to add a new div like this, and inside this particular div right here, I like to add like a class name as usual. This class name is going to be called form floating right here, and inside this particular div class right here, I like to have like what we have seen just now to be, we need to be having text area. So text area is like another new class, span text component, and inside here we don't actually need to place anything as a default characters, but within this particular tag right here, we can actually place some styling properties and all the class names that we should be having. So first of all, I like to have class name for this, of course, as usual, and of course we need to be having form control, because this is the input box right here. Basically this is the input box, and besides form control, we should also be having ID is meant for identifying the labels. So in this case, I have to add ID should be comments, and besides ID, I should be also be having the style for this particular component. So the style is going to be having, I'll be adding is height, and of course going to be around like 100 pixels, and that should do. And besides text area, I should be also be having label like this, and label is where we are able to name this particular input box. So in this case I have to say comments or feedback, so anything. So in this case it can be anything. You can just place your feedback, comments, thoughts, or anything, just the way, almost as long it just keep the same idea. So this particular ID is going to be having for, where we can just say comments as well, like this. Yes, that's all we need to be doing. So in this case, as you can see right here in our website, we're able to find a simple input box will be created. But at this time, as you can see here, there's no floating here. There's no transition or anything, and that's the reason because I've not actually added the placeholder like this. So as you can see, we need to be having a simple placeholder so that it actually works for that particular transition to happen. So in this case, I have to add placeholder right here, and once I place right here, I'll be able to have that particular transition to be created in our website like this. And besides that, we can also have like a simple button at the most bottom right here, and that particular button can be just be placed right here, and just need to be saying button, and this particular button will be having its own type. So the type should be, in this case, should be submit. And besides that, we can also say submit to be the one inside that particular button, and we can also give some color to this particular button, where we are able to have some blue color, where we use button dash primary on most of the time. So button dash primary like this. And if I check our website right here, you're able to find there's no gap in between the button and the previous section. So in this case, let's go to the particular code right here. Of course, I have to add like a simple MB4 again for this particular form floating. So in this case, I had MB4, and if you go to our website right here, you're able to have some spacing to be placed right here. And yeah, that's how you're able to make use of simple Bootstrap forms to be implemented right here. And let's say if you like to add another new input. So in this case, I like to add another new input called select. So select is basically the drop down menu I've just gone you guys through. So in this case, now code right here, we need to be having right after this particular email right here, you need to be having giving label first. So in this case, just like I make a copy of the same label right here, and I can place it right here. And in this case, I like to change to a different ID. So in this case, I like to say topic, and topic is going to be where we are able to have some feedback on a particular topic for our website. So besides that, this is the label, by the way. So in order to have that particular drop down input box to be implemented, so you need to be using select, and the class name is going to be form select, and the ID is going to be it's just going to be saying topic like this. And of course, inside this particular select component is where we're going to be placing the options. So this is the first, I like to say option, and of course every option will be having its own value, and let's say pricing. And besides that, we can also place a particular option to be placed as the topic content as well. And besides that, we can also just like make multiple options. So in this case, the second one, I like to place content like this. And besides that, we can also change the third option. In this case, I like to say other like this. And of course, this particular, of course, it should be also be the same as the one as the input option right here. And if we go to our website right here, we're able to have this particular simple drop down option like this. And of course, you can see there's no gap in between them. So all you have to do just need to be having something like that we have done before, where we need to be having MB4, and we can also add input group for this particular drop down option as well. So first of all, I have to go right below the label right here, and after I like to copy paste that particular input group MB4 class name, and of course it's going to be an empty class. After that, we need to be placing this right inside here, and since it's an input group, we need to be having the span tag like this I've shown you before. So in this case, I will place it right here. As you can see, go to the website right here, we're able to find, and we can just change this particular icon for every single input box. So the second one right here, which says email, I have to look for an envelope icon. So in this case, I have to go to here and look for envelope, or just I have to say mail. That should do. And there you go. You can find a lot of envelope icons like this, and copy this, and we can just place it inside the email input box right here, which is right here. Just place it right here, and there you go. And we can also change this particular topic icon as well. So in this case, I have to go to Bootstrap icon again and just look for another new icon. So in this case, I have to say, message, something like this. I would do. So message box would be like something like this, and yeah, anything of this should do. Let's say if I like to go with like this particular icon right here, just copy this and go to our code, and just need to be placing it inside our third option right here. And once we paste it like this, as you can see in our website, in our Bootstrap website, we're able to find this particular icon will be changed as well. And there you go. Right now, this is how you're able to make use of forms. So forms is basically a simple way where customers can actually send information to your website directly. And yeah, that's the basic idea of how to add forms into our Bootstrap website.
So in the next part of the video, I'll have to walk you guys through on how to add tooltips. So what is tooltips is basically when we hover on top of any of a particular component or an image to be specific, we will be able to have like an information to be popped out, and this is just to show what is that particular image is all about. And not just image, it can be either for a button or any other components. So let me just show you how does a tooltip would look like. So as you can see right here, as you can see, when we hover on top of this particular button, you are able to find an information as already like a pop-up on top of this particular button. And this is because when we hover on top of this particular data bootstrap toggle will be triggering a JavaScript function, and that particular function will be triggering the pop-up, and that's how it works. So that's the basic idea. And all you have to do, we just need to be passing this particular tooltip toggle to the particular JavaScript, and in return JavaScript will trigger that particular tooltip to be opened. And that's the basic idea. So of course, since I said JavaScript, we also need to be implementing just 2 lines of code. For example, as you can see right here, as you can see, this is basically just 2 lines of code which we need to be implementing into our code. So let's actually start implementing this particular tooltip into our website. And in our website, I would like to, first of all, I'd like to show you where I would like to place that particular tooltip. First of all, I like to place for this particular image right here. So when I hover on top of this particular image, I would like to have that particular tooltip to be shown. So that's what I like to do. So first of all, I like to go to my code, and in my code right here, I like to go to the JavaScript section where we are able to have that particular code to be placed. So first of all, I like to have like a script tag, and inside this script tag is where I like to place that particular JavaScript code that we have just copied from the Bootstrap documentation. So now once we have placed this, of course, we need to be having that particular HTML code at the same time. So first of all, I like to go to this particular example right here. All you have to do, as long you happen to have data bootstrap toggle tooltip, and followed by where would you like it to be placed, and of course the title you like to have it. So first of all, I like to have for this the bottom right here. So I would like to have, when we hover on top of this particular tooltip, I like to have it shown on the bottom. So I like to go to this particular data bootstrap toggle tooltip, and of course data bootstrap placement should be bottom. And of course, I like to also have the title to be tooltip on the bottom right here. So I like to copy this particular line of code right here, because it can, other than this, is nothing else is actually can be different from each other, as long you are able to have these 3 things, and you should do. So let's go to our code, and in our code, I like to go to that particular hero section, which is right here, and the hero section's image is right here. So I like to wrap this particular image in a span tag. And inside the span tag is where I'll be placing the image. So I like to move this and place it right inside here. And inside this particular span tag is where I like to place that particular props that I've actually copied. So in this case, I like to paste it right inside here. So as long as you have data bootstrap toggle tooltip, data bootstrap placement, and title, you'll be able to have something like this. Now let's check our browser. Once we refresh the page, of course, you'll be able to find this particular tooltip will be shown like this. So we can also like have like another image. So in this case, I like to go to another image right here. So for this particular section, I like to also have like a add tooltip for this particular image as well. And in our code, I like to go to that particular section, which is FAQ, and go to that particular image right here, which is right here. And of course, again, I like to wrap that particular image in a span tag and place that image inside the span tag. Place it right inside here, and of course, let's paste the same 3 things that we have just copied, and which is basically tooltip bottom and tooltip on the bottom right here. So we can just change the title right here. I would say this is AirPods, so something like this. So let me just go to our browser, and let me just refresh the page just for in case, and this is, you're able to find this is AirPods. And this is the basic idea of how you're able to make use of tooltips into your website. So this is basically a simple way and doesn't take much steps, right?
because it's just everything else has already been implemented and pre-written in Bootstrap. So next, I'll have to walk you guys through on how to add models. So what are models actually is. So let me just show you what exactly a model is. For example, let's say if I were to click on this particular button right here, you will be able to find a simple pop-up will be shown like this. So basically model is like another term can be used for referring to pop-ups, and this is just one of the way Bootstrap can be used to have implement pop-up into our website. So as you can see right here in the code implementation right here, you'll be able to have like a button where you're able to trigger that particular model, and inside that particular button you will be having all these triggers right here. So as you can see here, this trigger is the one that actually makes that particular model to be open. So the first thing is the data bootstrap toggle model. The first thing is actually the trigger, and the second thing is the ID that uniquely identifies which particular model to be open. And that particular model is going to be having an ID of example model. So as you can see right here, if we go a bit to the bottom to the code right here, you're able to find the model itself. This is the code for model, where the model will be having that particular ID and also other labels like example model label and other stuffs as well. And this is the particular part of the code where we need to be implementing if you would like to have something that looks like this, by the way. So let's actually make use of something like this into our code. In our website that we are building, we can actually implement that particular model when we click on this particular buy now button. So when we click on this particular buy now button, I would like to have like a pop-up or model which will be asking me for my email, so that I can actually send like an email that can actually have data that represents this particular product's info. So that's the basic idea of what we would like to implement. So first of all, I'll have to go to my code, and in our code that we have just built, I would like to look for that particular button which is inside the hero section, and which is right here. As you can see here, you're able to find this particular anchor tag with buy now. So this is the one that I like to make use of. For example, inside this particular anchor tag is where I like to place that particular data bootstrap toggle, which is basically coming from here as well. Data bootstrap toggle, and of course the data bootstrap target is going to be example model. So I like to copy both of this, and I would like to paste it right inside here. You're able to find these two particular triggers are actually really important. And the next thing is we need to be implementing that particular model itself. So in this case, I have to go back to that particular documentation, and I would like to copy this particular model that we would like to place inside our code right here. Just like to copy everything which is model, and we can just place it anywhere as long as it's like separate from all the other sections. So I like to place it at the most bottom right here. And once we go to our website, and we're able to find, when we click for we need to make sure we refresh the page, and we can click buy now, you'll be able to have this particular model with actually no content right here. And let me just go through how to actually add content by actually going to this particular part of the code right here. So for example, in a particular model, we'll be able to have all this basic structure, which is basically the most parent class will be model, followed by model dialog, and then we'll be having model content. And content is where we'll be having three subclasses, which is model header, which will be the one that's placed at the top, and secondly will be model body, which will be placed in the center, and third is model footer. So this is the basic structure of on how to create a model. So in this case, I just like to copy the content right here. So I just like to copy the content only, because everything else has already been done previously. So just by copying the content, and I like to go back to our code, and I like to paste whatever is within this particular content. So just like replace this particular new content we have just copied. And in our code, when we click on buy now, you're able to have the model title, the model content, and the buttons right here. And besides that, we can also position this particular model to be vertically center. So like as you can see right here, we can actually make it vertically centered by actually just, as you can see, if we click on this particular button, you're able to have this particular model to be placed center. So how are we able to do that? Just need to make sure that we actually implement model dialog centered class, and that's it. This is what we actually needed. This is the only thing that we needed. So in our code right here, right after model dialog, we need to be placing model centered like this, and you will be able to find that looks something like this, that's placed center. And this is how you're able to make it center. And besides that, I also like to walk you through the width of this particular model. So in this case, there are three main widths. I think there's four actually. The small, the default, which is medium, large, and extra large. So all you have to do, just need to be adding model followed by SM, and the dash SM will be the one that refers to the size, and of course like dash LG, dash XL are the ones actually refers to the size. And if you would like to have it like default one, we don't actually need to add anything at the end. So right after this particular model dash dialog, we need to be placing model dash the size, by the way. So if I go to the particular code, and right after model dash dialog right here, I like to place model dash the size, basically the Excel. So if I go to my website again and click buy now, you'll be able to find the width of your particular model will be increased to the max. This is the max width, by the way, and you can also have SM for the minimum width as well. So when you play SM, you'll be able to find your model will be having such a small size right here. So in this case, I just like to go with the most default one where we don't need to be adding anything. So by just leaving like this, you're able to have your class to be in the medium sized one. And besides that, we can also add forms right inside our model. So in this case, we can actually just make use of the forms that we have actually made previously, something like this. We can just place like a name, email, and these two should be fine. And in our code right here, we have already implemented such input fields. So in this case, I have to go to the particular feedback section, and we just need to be having we just need to have this particular label. These two labels should be fine, where label and the input together, and just copy this and just need to be going to that particular model which we have been working on, and go to that particular model body right here, and we can just replace this particular model body with this particular form content like this. And if you go to our website and click on buy now, you'll be able to find a simple model with two fields will be right here. And yeah, there you go. That's how you're able to have like a simple model which we can be implemented. And we can also implement forms inside that particular model, and not just forms, you can add also images, text, and hyperlinks as well. So it can be any way, it can be done in many ways, by the way. So in the next part of the video, I want to walk you guys through on how to add off canvas. So what does off canvas means is that, let me just give you a demo. So when I click on this particular button right here, when I click on this particular button, you're able to find a drawer just gone into the page. So on my left hand side right here, this is a simple off canvas demo that I would like to walk you guys through on how are we able to implement this into our website. So basically, let's say if I were to click any of the particular button right here, as you can see, this is a link, and by the way, this is a button, by the way. Both ways we are able to implement a particular off canvas. So besides that, not just we are able to have this particular drawer to be coming from our left hand side, we can also make the particular drawer to come from the top right here. All you have to do is just need to be replacing this particular off canvas top, this dash top right here, with the direction that we would like to have it from. For example, in this case it says top. So since it's top, we'll allow to have it from right. So we put end. It's just basically like the padding that we have seen in the previous videos, where when we put PE, which stands for padding end, it comes from our right hand side right here. So when you put N, you will have your off canvas coming from your right hand side like this. And besides that, you also happen to have off canvas bottom just by placing bottom like this. And when you click bottom, you will have this particular off canvas coming from the bottom right here. And besides that, we can also optionally we can actually add or remove the backdrop. And let's say this particular off canvas right here, we can actually scroll in the background. But when we added backdrop, we can't actually scroll like this. So as you can see, I'm actually scrolling my mouse, but I'm not actually able to scroll this particular page. And we can actually enable both scrolling and backdrop by actually having both of them to be like this. And this is a demo. So how are we able to enable backdrop and scrolling at the same time? It's just by having, as you can see right here, it says data bootstrap scroll. This is when we would like to have it scrollable, and data bootstrap backdrop to be false when we don't want backdrop. But let's say if you would like to have both of them to be true, we can just say back data bootstrap scroll to be true at the same time, and we can just leave out this particular data bootstrap backdrop to be just as it is, because by default backdrop is default will be true. So we don't need to be adding anything. We would like to implement backdrop. And those are the basic idea of how to implement off canvas drawer in Bootstrap. So let's actually make use of this particular off canvas in our website. And in our web page right here, we would like to have it something like a button that we can just click on it, and that particular drawer should just opens up on our right hand side right here. Let's create a button first, and in our code right here, I'll have to add like another new button right below the first anchor tag right here. So I have to copy, and I have to make another new anchor tag. And this guys, I like to add like a learn more hyperlink. So once we added this particular anchor tag right here, I like to see it, how does it look in our website. So as you can see, we don't actually able to make it look like a, so I like to give some class to make it have it a better position. So first of all, I like to add href first. So in this case, let us say a simple href, and that would be a blank href like this, just by pressing this hash symbol. So you're able to have this particular, all this hyperlink properties. And besides that, I like to add like a class name to this particular anchor tag as well, to make it, to give more positioning styling properties. So in this, first of all, I like to add padding. And so yeah, I'll just like to give like a padding of 2 like this. So p-2, you'll be able to have this particular position to be placed right here. And I don't want that to be any underline to be placed here as well. So in this case, I have to add text, decoration, and none. So by having that, you're able to have no underlines will be having, as long it just looks like a simple hyperlink like this. And next up is like I like to make it to be have that particular trigger to be called, so that we can actually make a drawer to be the off canvas drawer to be open. So first of all, I like to go to this particular example that we have seen right here. Of course, we need to be having data bootstrap toggle off canvas. This is exactly what we want the button to do, is to trigger off canvas. And of course, the href is also important, so we can just replace the one that we have already did. And this particular href is calling a particular off canvas with this particular ID, and the role is button. And of course, area controls is off canvas example. So this is actually the fundamental. These are the 3 main triggers that we need to make that particular off canvas to show. So I like to copy all of this and all the way up to, yeah, just copy whatever is after class name. So I like to copy this, and inside my code right here, I like to replace this particular href with what you have just copied. So I just like to paste it like this. So as long as we happen to have data bootstrap toggle, href, role, and area controls, this is the basic way of how to implement off canvas. Now next thing is we need to be having that particular off canvas drawer itself. So I like to place it right here. So first of all, I like to go to the particular documentation, and I would like to copy this particular off canvas itself. So as long as you're able to have this particular off canvas to be pasted in our website, you'll be able to have that particular button to call this particular off canvas on my left hand side right here. And there you go. That's how simple it is to actually implement off canvas into our website. So we can also have this particular off canvas to be placed in all the 4 sides, just by replacing this particular off canvas dash start with, actually let's say if you like to add it end, so that you can actually make it to be placed on my right hand side like this. And of course, we can also change it to top, and that will eventually make that particular off canvas to start from the top right here. And we can also add it to the bottom like this. Once we add the bottom, we are able to have this particular off canvas to be coming from the bottom right here. So I just like to stick with having it on my right hand side right here. So I'll replace end, so that I'll be able to have it placed on a really common way to be placed. And there you go. And I hope you are able to have some basic idea on how you're able to make use of off canvas in Bootstrap. And
So in the next part of the video, I'd like to walk you guys through on how to add drop downs.
so as you can see right here, when I click on this particular button, which has a drop down arrow like this, you'll be able to have some options to be showing at the bottom right here. So when you select on any of this particular option, you just go to that particular href. By the way, let's say if I click on this particular will trigger this particular href, by the way. So this is like a simpler version of a drop down. So this drop down can be used in either in drop down menu or anywhere else. So let's actually make use of this in our website. So the basic structure of this particular button is basically we need to have a div with the class name that says drop down, and of course we need to be wrapping a particular button. That button should be having drop down toggle. Along with that, we also need to be having the type equals to button, and data bootstrap toggle is going to be drop down at this time. And we also happen to have area expanded to be false. This, at the moment when we click on this, it should be initially when we click on the area expanded, it should be false. Only when we click on this button, it should become true. So as you can see here, we happen to have that particular content of this particular drop-down menu, where the content will be in a list format, where you'll be having the UL and UI, where the UL will be having a class name for drop-down dash menu. And inside here we'll be having list, the li, where it has drop down item to be the class name. And here we can also make use of anchor tag to be the button right here. So we just The only difference is that this one uses anchor tag instead of button, and we can also change the color of this particular drop-down button with all this button just by changing this particular class name with button dash danger and all of the other stuffs. We can just change the color like this, and we also happen to have split button. So what a split button is that we are able to have this particular button, the trigger, to be placed on our right hand side, which is separated from the main button right here. So there's two splits right here, and you can actually make use of this by placing two buttons. For example, the first button will be having placed here. Second button, you should wrap. This particular button will be visually hidden, so that's why toggle drop down will be this refers to this particular. So the second button will be the one that acts as the one that we are able to click on it to trigger the content like this. That's why you're able to find the data, bootstrap, toggle, all this stuff right here. And of course, this is the content. And of course, we happen to have the sizing just by changing the button size, just by saving button dash LG. We can have by placing button dash LG, we are able to have a bigger button right there. And of course, button dash SM will be having a smaller button. And yeah, those are things that we can actually make use of in our website. So first of all, I'd like to go to our website right here. So when we click on learn more, I would like to have like a simple drop down to be placed right here so that we are able to go to a particular section upon clicking on a particular one of the items in that particular button. So first of all, I'll go to the code, and in our code right here, this is the Offcanvas content right here, and of course this is where we place all the Offcanvas content. So right here, I like to have like a new div, and inside this div is where I like to place the class name, and that class name would be drop down like this. And of course, we should be having a button first. So in this case, I will add button, and this button should be having a simple title that I would like to say drop down. And of course, we should be having some class name also, and that class name will be the basic class name that we give it to button. So in this case, button dash secondary. And if you check our website, you're able to have this particular button right here. So at the moment, it does not do anything because we are not added anything else. So let's add that particular trigger that we have seen earlier. So which the trigger will be, we need to be having drop down toggle first. So drop down toggle will give this particular icon right here, right inside the button. So we need to add drop down toggle. So we need to place drop down like this, drop down dash toggle right here. So when we go to our website, you're able to have button to be having that particular icon like just like this. And of course, let's add those triggers. Example type equals to button data bootstrap toggle, and of course area expanded false to be placed right after that particular class name. So let's place it right after the class like this, and there you go. So next thing is that we need to be having that particular list of items that will be called once we click on this particular button. So first of all, of course, as you can see right here, it has to be a UL li component, so which have drop down dash menu, and inside here we happen to have a list of anchor tag which has drop down dash item with href. So this is exactly what I'm going to do. So in our code right here, I like to add UL, and this particular UL will be having a class name. This class name is drop down dash menu, and inside here we'll be having all the li. So inside the li we also be having an anchor tag, and this particular anchor tag will be the one which will be able to click on this, and that will actually lead us to a particular section. So the first section I like to place is products. Since it's a product, we need to be having an href, and that particular href should be having hash products. So what does this actually means is that when we click on products, it will just direct us to the products section. Since it's an item of a particular dropdown, we need to be having a class name as well. And this particular class name is where we'll be placing dropdown dash item. And just like this, you'll be able to find in our code, in our website, you're able to have this particular first option we'll be having, which is products. So we can just make use of this particular products, something that we have just did something like this particular option like products. We can just do for other stuff as well. We can also do for FAQ, review, and all the stuff like here. So in our code, I'll create another new list item right here, right below here, but I like to change it to FAQ, and of course I like to change the href as well. And there you go. Right now we happen to have a second option for this particular drop down. When we click on FAQ, it just goes to this particular FAQ section just like this. And that's how simple it is to actually add drop down in our website. Next one.
So in this particular part of the video, I want to walk you guys through on how to customize Bootstrap styling properties. For example, like here, as you can see right here, we have been using this blue color, whereby this blue color is actually a predefined color when we make use of button dash primary or color background dash primary. So this particular primary is actually a predefined variable where when we make use of primary, it will be showing blue color. So what if we are able to make use of that particular primary, but we change the color instead? So that's what I would like to walk you guys through. So in order to customize all these predefined Bootstrap properties, we need to make sure to install Bootstrap locally, and that way we're able to make it the process of customization Bootstrap properties much more easier. So first of all, I have to make sure to install Node.js. So just go to Node.js download like here, and make sure you have downloaded and installed Node.js into your desktop locally. And once you have done this, you need to go to your VS Code, and in our code right here, all you have to do, just need to make sure to initialize this particular project with a package.json file in which we are able to keep track of all the dependencies that we download and install into our project. So in order to have that, we need to have npm init. We need to type npm init in this particular terminal. And once you click on that, you are able to have some questions to be answered. For example, like here, name, just type enter for all of this. Just click yes and okay, and you're able to have these two new files will be created. One is package.json and one more is log. And we're just going to be using package.json for this particular case. So as you know, we already have our package.json to be created. Next thing is I would like to download and install Bootstrap locally. So this can have npm install Bootstrap, and there you go. Once you have downloaded installed Bootstrap locally, you're able to find inside your package.json a new dependency will be created right here, which is Bootstrap version 5 like here. And besides that, on our left hand side right here, you're able to find node modules also being created. So this is where we're able to see all the predefined values of Bootstrap. So as you can see, when I click on Bootstrap, go to this particular dist folder, you'll be able to find CSS right here, and these are all the predefined values of CSS you're able to find. And besides that, when you click on SCSS right here, this is also where you're able to have those particular predefined values as well. And specifically, if you go to variables.scss, so when we go to this particular file right here, and you'll be able to find is what I've been telling you about. This is where you're able to find the value for primary, and the value for primary is actually blue. So this is the core file that has been written to initialize this particular predefined colors, and not just colors right here. You're able to find other predefined values, like as you can see here, h1, font size, and it's basically for all the predefined value of Bootstrap. So now, in order to customize our Bootstrap website, I mean, you might think that we might be just able to directly change the values directly from here. But this is not a really encouraged way, because if you were to change the core file, we need to make sure it's hard to roll back to what it was predefined. So that way we can't be going back to what it was as a default. So in order to have something that we are able to change and remember the only thing that has been changed is that we are able to make use of SCSS or SAS file, and that way we are able to keep all the new values for the predefined styling properties. So let's actually create another new file, another new folder at the most root of your project, which says SAS. So inside our SAS folder right here, I have to create another new file called main.scss. And inside this particular file is where I like to call all the predefined Bootstrap values, and I'll be customizing them on top of that. So in order to call all these particular styling properties that are actually listed inside this particular assets, inside this node modules, I can just directly import it from here. So all I have to do is just need to make sure to add import. So just need to make sure that this particular file is actually pointing to that particular node modules with Bootstrap in it. So first of all, I like to have // like this, and of course just need to go for modules, node modules right here, followed by Bootstrap, and just look for SCSS, and finally we should point to bootstrap.scss. Now next thing is that where we are able to actually make use of all the predefined values. Now this particular file that I've chosen right here, which says bootstrap.scss, and it's actually placed inside our bootstrap SCSS file,
And this is basically the amalgamation of all this particular predefined values right here. So all you have to do just need to be, once you access this particular file, you're able to access the rest of them in the same file. So the next thing is that I can actually just override a new value to a particular predefined variable. So in this case, the styling properties that we usually use is the primary styling properties, where it actually refers to a blue color. So we can actually change the color from blue to other colors as well. So that's why that way I have to call primary right here. So as you can see here, so I like to label this to be this bootstrap. This is going to be the bootstrap initial values. And on top of here is where we'll be placing the new values, or you can just say custom variables like here. And the first thing I like to change is the primary styling properties. And of course, I need to make sure to be same like inside this variables file. So I need to make sure to copy exactly like this and just paste it right here. And inside here is where I like to paste that particular custom color. So I like to give like a custom hex color. So in this case, I like to say hash. And this particular color is where I like to give, it's like green color by the way. Of course, I need to make sure to give this particular semicolon. It's a green color by the way, where we're able to make use of for all the primary. It just replaces all the colors that we have given to all the primary colors. And once you have done this, by the way, we have actually not done any of this particular, we have not actually completed the step yet. If you check our website idea, we have not changed the color of this particular blue color or any of the primary color we have given, like this color, and most of the blue colors we are able to find right here, actually making use of primary styling properties. So but then there's no change has been effected, because we need to make sure to compile this particular SAS file every single time that the change has been happened. So in order to compile this particular SAS file, we need to make sure to install an extension called live SAS, just like this, and you're able to find this particular file extension should be downloaded and installed right here. I've already installed and downloaded already. And once you have already installed it, you need to make sure to restart your VS Code before actually moving on. And once you have already installed this particular live server, the next thing you need to go to your settings inside here and just need to type settings right here. Just need to look for, and inside the settings right here, you need to make sure to type live SAS format. And of course, once you have already typed this particular keyword, you need to make sure to go to this edit settings for JSON right here and click on this. And here I've already made some changes right here. All you have to do, just need to make sure to have this particular new object right here. I've did right here, so that we're able to have it in this particular safe path to be /scss, and the extension name could be just .min.css. So what does it means is that once it compiles, it will be saving that particular compiled file CSS in a separate file called, it will be saved in this particular format under this particular folder, and that way we are able to have this particular compiled file to be saved inside our CSS file every single time, and we don't have to create it manually. So once we have done this particular changes inside this particular settings, or you just need to close all of this, make sure to save all the file. And next thing I like to do is actually I like to make this particular compiler, which is the SAS compiler, which we have just installed to run. So just click on this particular bottom part here, which says watch SAS, and once you start clicking on it, you're able to have this particular output will be generating. So as you can see right here, it says generated and it still says watching. And what does it mean is that actually it's compiling the entire file, and you'll be able to find a new folder called CSS has been just created. And inside here, you'll be able to find main.css followed by main.css.map. These are the two ways where we're able to have that particular compiled file to be stored. And once it has been already compiled, it will just save the latest changes inside this main.css file. And that's the basic idea of why we are making use of this particular SAS compiler. And once you have done that, next thing is you need to make sure to go to our HTML index.html. And this particular CDN link that we have placed earlier, which is actually pointing towards Bootstrap CDN link, we need to make sure to direct this particular link to this particular main.min.css file which we have just created. So all you have to do is just need to make sure to remove all inside href right here, and of course you need to point to this particular CSS file, and just need to go to CSS followed by main.min.css. And of course, we won't be needing any of this particular part of this particular CDN, which says integrity and of course cross origin. You don't be needing any of this. Just remove it. And of course, you're able to have this, just as long as you're able to point to this particular main.bin.css, you're able to have some changes to be made. So let's save this file and actually look at our browser. And there you go. And there you go. We're able to have some changes to be made right here, where we're able to have that particular primary styling properties has been changed to green like this, and there you go. We're able to have many part of our sections have been changed right here. And we can also customize more styling properties, where in this case we have used this particular bg-light, and light is also a particular predefined styling properties for color. And I have to go to my main.scss, and right after this particular primary I like to have light, and of course I like to give another predefined color, where in this case I will just like reduce the color opacity to around like here, and let's click on enter. And once you're able to have this color to be changed, you must make sure to have your SAS file to be generated as well. So just need to make sure to, yeah, as you can see right here, it says watching, and the change has also been detected. So now let's go to our website, and there you go. Right now in our website we're able to have we have changed the color of that particular gray to this particular light green right here. And that's other basic ways where we're able to make use of SAS file to customize our Bootstrap predefined styling properties. And that is actually how you're able to make use of SAS file in order to customize your Bootstrap's predefined styling properties. So in this part of the video, I like to walk you guys through on how to add tabs in our Bootstrap website. So as you know, tabs are basically a way where we switch between content just by clicking on it. For example, like this particular component right here, where we're able to select home and we're able to have this particular content, and when we select profile, we're able to have the second content that's placed within this content right here. So basically we wanted to show a particular content that only at one time, only when we click on it. So that's the basic idea of what does tabs are. And the most basic way to add a tab is basically we can either by having UL and LI, and we can place a button right here, and where we're able to have all the UL and LI list of buttons to be placed right here on the top, and at the bottom where we place the content like just like this right here. And you can actually just start making use of this in our code, but in this particular website we won't be able to make use of tabs because it is no longer suitable for any of the sections. So what we can do, we can just make a new file, and that file I can just place this particular boilerplate where I'll be able to have the headers and the script at the bottom, and just need to be having an empty body like this. And of course in this particular body as well, right, to place the section. And right in this section I can actually place a class for having adding the padding. So I want to give padding Y of 5 like this. And next thing is that I like to add that particular tabs which is right here. Just like first of all I like to go with the buttons first. This is the list of buttons that we are going to be placing at the top right here. So as you can see here, what does it happen to have is that we are able to have the UL and LI, and the button is actually placed within that particular LI tag. So as you can see, there's 3 buttons, and you'll be having the class name for UL to be nav followed by nav-tabs. And of course, whatever you are placing inside that particular nav-tabs, you need to be having nav-items like this. So as you can see, the item will be placed inside this particular horizontal direction. So let's actually make a copy of this. And before we paste inside this particular section, let's actually create a container. And of course, we're going to be having heading this class name for this particular div, where we'll be saying container -lg like this. And inside here is where we'll be placing the tabs buttons first. In this case, it's going to be like this. So when we look at our website, you'll be able to find something like this. There's only 3 tabs right here with 3 separate buttons, and by default it always selects the first one, which is the home in this case. So now let's actually add the content right here. So when we actually just make a copy of this right in the bottom right here, and this, as you can see, the content, this is how the code for how to place the content inside this particular buttons when we click on them is where we need to having the class name for called tab content. And then whatever when we place inside here, it should be having tab-pane followed by fade. And in this case, we wanted to show the first one to be the default content. So we just say show active, and the rest is all actually the same as the one in the following ones. So of course, we happen to have role-tab panel area labeled by home tab like this. And of course, we can place the content right here. In this case, the content is just 3 dots. So we can just make a copy of this first, and we can just place right below this UL component right here. We just place it right here. And of course, when you go to our code, we're able to find this particular 3 dots. Let me just zoom in a bit. As you can see, there's 3 dots right here, and you can just go between these 3 dots. I like to label them properly so that we can actually see what are the 3 dots right here. And the first 3 dots are going to be placing the first content The second is going to be called second content, and the third is going to be saying third content like this. And we look at a website, we're able to have this particular three content to be appearing only when we click on them. And besides that, we can also have like a different style of tabs where we place buttons like this, by the way, but in this case it's going to be called pills. Just by having nav-pills, you'll be able to have this particular button to be replacing the line like this. In this case, the only thing different that it makes is that that this one will be having buttons with no lines, and this is a bit more different because you are actually using UL and LI. Only thing that's different is nav-pills. So let's actually make use of this just by having this particular nav.pills to be changed. And as you can see right here, all you have to just need to make a copy of nav-pills, and here we can just replace nav-tabs with nav-pills like here, and there you go. Right in our content right here, we are able to make use of buttons, and instead of just using this particular previous lines, we are able to have like a filled button where we are able to click on it right here. And those are the two main ways where we're able to make use of tabs. And besides that, we also happen to have this vertical tabs where we're able to move them from the buttons that are placed from the top to the bottom right here. All you have to do is just be placing D flags, align items, start. And this is by doing that, you're able to have this particular buttons to be aligned to vertically. And those are the basic idea of how you're able to make use of tabs. And yeah, that's the end of this particular course, and thanks for watching this particular entire video, and of course the entire course as well. So, and I hope you are able to make use of all of this knowledge that you've gathered from watching all of these videos and from my lessons that I've actually shared, and you're able to make use of this particular lessons in your web development as well. So thanks for watching the entire video and keep supporting.